Hi,
Hey everyone.
everyone.
Hello.
Good morning,
Good morning.
afternoon.
Well, yeah, I apologize. I when I kicked out the idea of us getting together, you guys are all clearly 3 hours ahead of me, right?
I am.
I'm in the
No, I'm
Pacific.
1 hour.
Chad is. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
that's right, because you're in the. I always was confused on you, Steve-O, with that. You always comically gave a geographic reference in Mark and Claire's
Oh
thing
yes,
that,
yes.
that
The western coast of South New Colorado, or
yeah,
yeah,
Western Coast, yeah, the Great Lake of
right.
Colorado Springs or whatever.
So you need no introduction, I'm sure, Jackson, but welcome. We're so glad to have you on our stream with us,
Absolutely.
nutty, nerdy,
I'm trying to figure out how
notorious,
I'm always
never
not
ends.
looking off in right field. Um, you know,
You look good.
Yeah, you
well,
do.
I don't know. When I'm looking at you guys, I look like this, and I can't see what I look like when I'm looking like this. But then I look like this, and I can't look at you guys. And it's still something you learn with being on the tube,
Yep.
the
Right.
UB
Yeah.
tubey.
I do the same thing. And if I'm trying to point at somebody, it's impossible,
Well,
because
Yep.
you have to
here's
go.
one thing to keep in mind, and I bring this from working in Golden Era is you always think stage right and stage left when looking at a camera because that's why they designated that.
Hmm?
So stage right
Oh.
is over here and stage
Oh.
left
Oh.
is here for me.
Oh,
So
stage right.
so
Okay.
when you're looking at somebody who's on stage, you
Yeah.
reference it from their point of view. So
Oh.
move stage left and when you're does it make sense when you're like if you're out in the auditorium and you're trying to give direction to somebody up on stage and you ask them to do something or move somewhere, move stage left, move stage right. Anyway,
Oh,
so
okay.
I've always
Okay.
used that as my
Gotcha.
reference. If
Yeah,
that helps,
we
whatever.
like to hear the insider stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was just a lonely little security guard that opened and closed gates, and that's all I did at Golden Air, apparently.
Liz
Live.
Ferris is saying
Hey,
hello.
Liz.
Oh, hey,
Hi,
Liz.
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 Elizabeth, as I call her.
Well,
Oh.
if people believe that, I got some property out in Florida on the water to sell to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a couple bridges in Death Valley I can sell them to.
Oh,
Sounds good.
Yeah. So glad to see you. I'm so glad you reached out. I was like, oh my God, Jackson.
Yeah, well, I've been intending to, and I truly apologize to
That's all right.
you all specifically, and then anybody else who really gives a crap. Um, I just live in I live a very very busy work schedule, so I get up at midnight and start work at 2 a.m. and I typically get off as late as 4 p.m. that day. So if you do the math,
mm,
including travel time through traffic, one tends to hustle to get home just to make
Right.
enough food to sustain yet another day that lays ahead, and
yeah.
you're actually very interested in some sleep. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's just the way my industry works. So,
Yeah.
I apologize. It's taken up a
Oh,
lot of my
no
personal
apologies
time.
necessary.
But yeah, I do. It's not like I don't. Plus I can't talk. You can't use my phone while I'm driving, which I do a lot of driving of. Um, but it doesn't stop me from putting my phone down and checking out my YouTube notifications. I've seen you all do your thing.
Oh.
And Steve, I got to apologize. Um, I haven't slept with you except for that once, just simply because I had a headache, and so I apologize.
It's fair enough. It's been lonely, but I understand. I understand.
I just that's been kind of the uniqueness that I observe out of you guys. Um, why does there why is my brain telling me there isn't there usually four of you folks, or is it just you three that
Yes, I was going to mention that, Juliana.
Juliana?
Um,
There you go.
yeah, Juliana Bittencourt. She sends her love, Jackson. She had some previous plans, but
Oh,
she said please go ahead
yeah, it
and
was
sends her love. I think she is popping in the chat here and there saying hello to you though.
okay.
But she
Yeah,
couldn't be
well,
on screen today.
I
So
just find it incredibly unique and cool that you guys do what you do and know what you know. And it's something to be said from, and I don't say this as though I'm a victim, because I long ago lost the idea that I'm a victim of what I was part of. But uh, the fact that anybody took interest, really, there she is, Juliana. Oh, Juliana, the science theologist. I think that's incredible. But what motivated me to, like, hey, I should just do a live with you guys is my high level of respect I have for your guys' simple but deep passion that comes across in your tubes. I don't know. I reference that just because for Mike and Christy's live the other day, Christy and Mike always call YouTube it's not like the way you and I all reference YouTube. I forget off the top of my head, but the tube. You guys really you pay attention. It's incredible the amount of information that maybe something I gave reference to or said months ago, or even Mark or Claire. You guys still remember, the details of what it was like to walk that walk and talk that talk, and leading even up to your guys' Jeopardy game, and having challenges like that to see your challenge yourself on what you remember. And you guys never were there, but I guess it holds water to the fact of what we've told, which is simply the truth. The truth is what if we sat here and told you a bunch of lies, you guys would not be able to remember much, because we wouldn't be able to remember our own stories.
right.
So it kind of proves the power in what telling the truth does to a lot of interesting set of ears. And the interest is drawn, you three being, well, you four being an example. It just wows the hell out of me. I mean, I'm just me. I was just a guard that, quote unquote, opened and closed the gate at the base, but I certainly was involved with and played a lot more significant of a role than the church makes it appear to be. But it just fascinates me. I don't even know if I'm really getting to my point. It's just the characters you guys have built out of this, these Maryland's talents, Mr. Bill with John, the SPTV, the logos. You guys have a lot to do with how that all came about, and it's just incredible. I really can go on for a good solid hour or two about everything that I've kind of just observed and impressed about. So here I am to hang with you folks and to say hello, and for lack of being able to get in my car or walk down the street and bang on your door and go, hey, let's hang out. YouTube certainly affords us this fun of building out with each other without truly annoying one another. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I got stuff to do, how about if you move on? But, so yeah, there's my jibber jab.
Yeah.
My jibber
Well,
jab.
we're so happy to have you, and your story touched us all. And we're only four with Juliana. We're only four of thousands of never ends, was in another call, ex-Scientologists, also so many people watching and supporting and sending love. So we just adore you, Jackson, and we're definitely behind you. I hope you feel the support and the
Well,
love
I
from
do. I certainly do. I mean, my response to that is, looks like maybe Steve-O
Oh,
stepped
Can you
in
still
some,
hear me?
he
yeah, we
stepped
can
in
hear
some-
you, honey.
Stepped
Okay,
in
yeah.
some poo.
Yes, I
He
did.
stepped in some poop. It's that darn cat camera. El gato means cat in Spanish, right?
It does, yes.
Oh, wow. See, I love little things like that.
Oh, you'll hear all kinds of useless trivia and
Yeah, useless trivia.
on here.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. Even I kind of that's one thing about my personal character I find about myself is I'm the kind of guy that just sits there like at work. A lot of us show up like at 1:30 in the morning, just sit at the table outside and chit chat, and I'm the kind of guy that'll kick out some little life trivia thing. Did you know the human brain is 7 pounds? You know, yeah.
I love those little facts, though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's those little things, in my opinion, that lead to a happier life because as simple as it is, and trivial and juvenile as it is, it seems that and tends to always have the most impact where people will carry it on in their own life sometime an hour or two or a day or two or a year later and go, "Oh, yeah, I remember. Did you ever know the human brain weighed 7 pounds?" To their grandchildren, you know? So that's
Absolutely.
the fun aspect I like of life. And, every time I go into a Starbucks, uh, you know, I don't like playing on the fact that I'm older. I'm just, I was born in the 60s. So, music plays a big role in my life. And I like playing with today's generation of kids when they're at work and they got the Starbucks soundtrack playing in the background. And it's like a Queen song or Led Zeppelin or Boston or, something Fleetwood Mac. And I like to point out to them, it's like, do you know who sings this song? Oh, no, I don't. Well, that's Prince. And Prince is an incredible artist, and they're like, oh my God, I've heard this 100 times. I never knew who it was. And, I just love doing little things like that. So that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, I was thinking we talk about some real serious stuff on here, and it's nice to have a little bit of levity and, I mean,
Yep.
what you went through was just so intense and heartbreaking, and I just love your playful spirit, and you're so nice, a nice person, and you're not bitter.
Well, not bitter. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I will be open and honest with you in that truly, I do not have an ill towards anybody I've ever run across in my life, except for one person, and that's David Miscavige.
Oh, us too.
That's
Simply
understandable.
And he
because
didn't he didn't do anything to us, but
no,
we don't
but
like him.
I shook hands with a very evil individual that purposely led me and supported my belief down a path of which I fully believe something, only to take advantage of it and turn it around to his personal advantage in entertainment, as far as I'm concerned, where he humorously sits back and laughs at the effects that he creates on other people's lives, and he gets to go back to his cush
Yep.
life
And the
under
rules don't apply to him, right?
yeah under the guise of religion, and that laughter goes all the way to the leaders of this great country. He thinks he is untouchable in all aspects of life, and it really annoys the shit out of him that he even gets a knock at the door from these people that he feels he's far above, because he truly believes that. I witnessed that. I mean, I used to believe that anybody outside the gates and fence line at the base were troubled individuals. People are seriously in need of help, and eventually they're not going to survive as well as I'm going to. What a foolish fucking thought. I used to sit there and stare out at the highway in front of the main booth out there at Golden Era, and I was really glad for myself to be able to recognize this. But just looking at the street itself, the lines that were painted on the street lights, all that took intelligence to put there and afford me the use of it, right? The use of a highway, the use of being able to be guided by the lines painted on the roads to tell me to turn left or turn right or don't pass. So, the double yellow lines. As stupid as this may seem, I slowly became aware of what was at play as I was being told one thing on the inside. But if you look at reality on the other, it's like this took a level of intelligence, some engineering to figure all this out. The people that even made the asphalt, the people that make the paint, that gave the county or the state the ability to paint lines on the asphalt. I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculously simple? the level of things that you would become slowly aware of sitting inside that world of mine. You know, the food that we eat, that food's only available through the hard work of a lot of people that you will never meet. You know, the growing of the vegetables and the harvesting of them and the cleaning of them, the packaging of them and the shipping of them, putting it on a list for me or us as Golden Era Scientology to sit there and select. It's like, yeah, give me 10 pounds of carrots and 13 bushels of cauliflower and 200 gallons of milk and 400 pounds of cheese, just whatever the cooks would do to figure out the for the menu for the week. You know, when you look at those kind of details in life, there's a lot of good people out there. And I used to go to the firehouse, and my captain or my firefighters or the medics that were there, intelligent, incredibly intelligent people. And who the hell were we to say that they are no good?
Right.
They don't have a bright future. You know, that was really something that it was part of my waking up factor. I couldn't believe that I even bought into it. So, anyways, I don't know where I started to ramble down that path, but there you have it.
No, you make some really good points because it's cult 101 is to isolate
Yeah.
you, to make you feel like having like a common enemy. We have the truth. I mean, it's pretty much par for the course because I survived a cult myself. It was a terrible one, and not as terrible as Scientology. Scientology is in a class by itself. I feel, and it's just it's awful, and it's different than some cults, but it's also got some similarities. And I think that's why there's such a huge following, a huge amount of support, is because many of us can, probably most of us can relate in some level, whether it was another cult, whether it was a bad relationship, an MLM, a bad work situation. We've all felt some twinge of what my situation's not right. But you do have so many things that will make you feel controlled and almost against your own better judgment. So you're not alone. And like I said, though, Scientology is a total different ball of wax. It's just awful. And we're with you. And all of us want to see them stop abusing people. That's number one.
Yeah, well, that just proves the wickedness in which Dave wakes up every day and realizes the power that he can wield and does and continues to do. But anyways,
Yeah.
No, Jackson,
I,
what do you think? What do you think, Miscavige? So right now, there are process servers running around trying to serve him, and he's clearly hiding, right? But
yes.
is he hiding? Like, is he, like,
No,
oh,
he hides behind his own layers.
yeah.
He does what he wants to do. I'm just looking at these comments as they pop up
Oh,
too. So
I'm just popping in some
yeah,
comments as you're talking.
I
If
think
they're
that's pretty cool.
distracting, I
No,
won't.
no,
But
it's not.
you're
I
getting so
actually
much support. I don't want to spend, you
I,
know, 2 hours going through all the comments. So I thought while you're talking, I'll
well,
pop up a few nice
that's
things.
been part of the oddity of this this little world, this YouTube world that we've created, in that there's so much incredible input. You want to acknowledge every single one of
I
them,
know.
and sometimes it rolls by so fast that you can't. It's like, oh, I want to. Oh, thank you. Oh, whoa, and it's you truly can't. You'll send yourself batshit crazy. But anyways, back to what Steve-O was asking. Oh, we lost his.
My camera's having a
He can
mood.
hear.
Okay,
He
well,
can
as long
still
as he
talk
can hear
to
us.
us.
I'm 100% here.
You know, in terms of what Dave's doing and how he avoids all this, it's the money that the church has that he affords himself the ability to do what he does and give the appearance that he truly is hard. I mean, he hides on his own private property. So imagine where you folks are sitting right now. You have the safety of the fact knowing that no other human being has the right to walk in to where you're sitting right now and touch you or say hi to you without you granting them access, right? onto your property and accepting them into your domain. Well, Dave has an incredible amount of private property owned by the church spread throughout the world that he can hide in. And he plays that game. He consciously is aware of the fact that if he feels the threat is too strong at Flag, he'll simply move through the shadows, get on a plane, and go to the UK. And the world in the UK is sit there to serve him in his beckoning call, and he doesn't drop any. He doesn't arrive to any lesser level of service or security that we as human beings like to have. Like there's a toilet and there's a place to brush your teeth and there's a place to rest your head. Well, he's got it all to the tenths, of the 3,000 count cotton sheets, and he's got high-end food that's flown from around the world to feed him, and people doing his laundry, and in the meantime, he's got people still chasing him around back in the U.S. We're foolish to think that we can simply go out, knock on the door, and find Dave Miscavige. He'll open it and you can serve him. Any other human being you can do that with. It's just amazing how you don't see this as a common issue in today's world, even with CEOs of major corporations or companies. If they're going to get sued, anybody who decides to sue them has the safety to know that they're going to be able to serve them. It's never a
Right.
it's never a typical concern in society. It's just like people don't go through such great extent as Dave Miscavige does to hide from a justice system and be willing to step up to the plate of justice and do what is by design for mankind to have justice be served in a situation. So, I've always referenced, to give an example, it's like, if the President of the United States' wife went off the radar for 18 years, don't you think somebody in the United States would notice and therefore has a right to ask?
Yeah.
Right.
Good
And,
point.
well, in the world of Scientology, which is a significant world to everybody who claims and calls themselves a Scientologist, wouldn't you figure you have the right to simply ask even your fellow Scientologists where the leader's wife is? How come we haven't seen her? What's wrong with asking that? Well, Dave makes it wrong to ask that by purpose. And why is that? Because Dave has her as a witness to his crimes. And, it's part of his treatment of his own wife that he keeps her out of the limelight. That's my opinion. That's my belief. But he also makes his own followers believe that they don't have the right to ask. If they do, they're gonna get in trouble, and that's what I call the fear factory is at play. Scientology is nothing but a fear factory. If you get down to it, they can't even talk to each other about their own life experiences because their life experiences are molded into what is called their case of what they get auditing about, what they get their counseling about. And you're not supposed to talk about your counseling or your auditing in a public thing. Just whether you're having coffee or tea or on the way to a camping trip or sitting on an airplane talking with each other, you can't sit there and go, so what'd you do last weekend? Well, I went out horseback riding along the beach. Well, because you talked about that in your auditing, your counseling, you can no longer talk about that in a public. Does any of this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to define crazy.
We love hearing the inside scoops like this.
Excuse me. Well, so back to my point of Dave's ability to hide from the system is he is completely aware of what's at play and how simple it is that as long as he's got certain things in place, he has guaranteed himself in his own mind that he is untouchable. untouchable in all aspects. As long as another day comes and goes, and he's not sitting in a jail cell like Danny Masterson is, his life's good. Because believe me, anything outside of Scientology, Dave is fearful of because he doesn't have any knowledge about anything. He wouldn't even know what to do if he chose to leave Scientology and go get a job somewhere in the field of his personal interest. You know, whether it's being a scuba diver instructor, which I know he likes scuba diving. He wouldn't even know how to perform at that as an employee or what's expected in the world. It's just amazing. He's created his own problem.
Yeah.
So he's got himself stuck in his own system in which he's made other people become stuck in.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it kind of is a continuum of the perpetual problem that's at hand is that once you leave Scientology, there's an apparency that your life is going to be over and you're no good. You're no good to nobody else, and more importantly, you're no good to yourself. So you might as well stay. And again, back on that control factor. But I don't know if that was a good enough answer for you, Steve-O.
That's a great answer for me.
Yeah, it
No,
was
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Very thorough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes me think of how the language and the nomenclature alone is so specialized, for lack of a better word, that
Yeah.
I wonder if he can even communicate with people on the outside world, because I know he has like Tom Cruise, they probably hang around and stuff, but Tom knows all that whole language. But I'm sure he's had to train himself not to completely speak Scientologese all the time. But I mean, I'm sure Dave Miscavige, like it's just him barking orders and doing all these, you know, acronyms, throwing at people and yelling at people. Like, I don't think he could even communicate with the outside world. He'd be like an
No.
alien.
Well, you know, when I used to stand there and watch him communicate with like public at Flag or other staff members or even Tom, when Tom was at the base, and you could tell it was a two-faced conversation, and that Dave is having this supposed conversation with this individual, but in the back of Dave's mind, he's thinking what a complete asshole and idiot this fucking person before me is. And until they say something that I can legitimately and honestly have interest in, Dave is thinking, this guy's just a worthless piece of shit and he'll never rise above me. And you're just a second level human being. And he'll, you know, it's like the Cheshire cat
Oh yeah,
phenomenon with the big
grin.
old pretty smile on their face. But in the meantime, he's holding a dagger behind his back, waiting for that fine moment to sink it in your back.
He's
and-
the
and
one.
just
He's the
comfortably walk
1-1,
away.
right? He's the
Yeah.
1.1, not everyone else.
Yeah, Dave Miscavige's 1.1 is a tone level that he considers 4.0. You know, does that make sense? 4.0 being the highest tone on the
Tone 40.
Scientology tone scale to be.
Right.
Dave Miscavige has put what L. Ron Hubbard defined as what a 1.1 is at the 4.0 tone level, and that's Dave. That's just how Dave has concluded in his own mind that what he does and how he thinks and how he acts is actually okay.
Jackson, do you think that Dave, in your opinion, is he embarrassed that he has to hide from process servers?
Oh no, he don't. Embarrassment is no. There's no level of embarrassment in Dave's world. He's always right about everything.
Oh, okay.
Always right, and no embarrassment whatsoever. He just laughs at this shit. It annoys him. Like Leah's lawsuit is just annoys him beyond get out. It's just I mean, part of the humor when, you know, I could have this conversation with Leah and go, you know what you just did to Dave when you hit that send button, right? And she goes, yeah, I know exactly what I fucking did. You know, she just took a big old pee and it was a bowl of cornflakes. And
Right. Love it.
and
So it's an annoyance to him, and that's it.
well, it's not. That's it. I mean, that case in particular is Leah is truly trying to resolve a very bad problem and help a lot of people
Yes.
as a result.
Yeah.
But in terms of embarrassment, like you know, Valeska's lawsuit, that effort to get him served, he just considers her a little speck in the distance, trying to fight a speck of dust in the distance, trying to fight a major headwind, or a fish trying to swim upstream. They seemingly never make any progress. When you see those salmon jumping upstream on their migration process, and the bears just happily stand there and just, they don't have to move an ounce. The fish jump into their mouth. Well, that's kind of a concept that what goes on in Dave's mind, not literally, but to give an idea of what it's like is these people are nothing to me, and I will just eat them alive when the opportunity arrives. And that opportunity comes to him. He almost has to put no effort into it, you know? So, to think that he doesn't have something to do or is not behind the scenes of all these PI activities and these letters that come out from the church, Dave's signature is attached to all of that. If it isn't directly coming out of his mouth, it is these people functioning in their state of fear. Because if they don't do something about it, they know they're going to get in trouble. And I know Catherine Fraser and Muriel are friends. That letter that Mitch got recently, you know, I took that, this is my opinion, but that delivery of that letter was so out of sorts, out of the norm, in that it came under the Golden Era Productions letterhead, signed by the port captain, which is basically the legal representative of Golden Era Productions proper. But it also referenced back to the base. So it's not really Church of Scientology International representation. It's Golden Era Productions telling bitch Brisker, bitch
with an M, right?
Yeah,
bitch with an M. I love that.
Yeah, I know.
That's
And
awesome.
again, that's just the beauty of Mitch's creativity.
Right.
Yeah.
Them delivering that to Mitch was just their effort to say they can't be called out by Dave to say they didn't at least do something. That was so out of sorts and off hat for them to do. It didn't have church legal representation, and that was really a shocking thing. And it's never really surprising to see the church yet again sticking their own foot in their mouth. But that was a great example of a Sea Org member acting out of fear. And I don't even, you know, I mean, there's kind of two aspects to it in that. How is it that Catherine became aware of Mitch's video and everything that he said in these 30 plus instances of his non-disclosure agreement violations? You know, there had to be some legal direction on that, some homework. It's like, hey, Mitch, I mean, Catherine doesn't get up and log on the internet and let's see what Mitch posted today. Nobody does that except these few offices in OSA in Los Angeles where they're monitoring all this because they're being told to, and then they feed the information. Yeah.
Thanks for the views.
Yeah, they feed the information internally and pass it around to who the church attorneys and executives decide, sure, we need to get them to write a letter. So the depth of Catherine's details in that letter to him, I would really be surprised that she saw one of Mitch's videos, but the likelihood that she would have, I just know is impossible because of the control of information inside. She would get in trouble. I mean, you can't log on to the internet in any, you know, church-owned property without somebody else knowing about it. You know, like parental restrictions. Basically, your
Right.
kids can't log on to any website that you don't want them to go to. So to think they don't have some sort of policing mechanism or software at play on their own internal stuff, because Dave made those mistakes himself, where he gave people who thought were serving him well, he gave them gifts that Dave was even himself so stupid to not realize what he was handing them, but he was handing them the keys to the door to leave.
Yeah.
At the time he was giving him this reward, such as a phone or an iPad,
Right.
and did not
His
realize
own father. Right.
yeah, his own father. And he goes, hey, basically, without saying it, here's the information of everything about me and what's out there in the open world about Scientology and me. just on your own time, go log in and use this iPad to read everything about me and end up
Yep.
leaving. Dave kicked himself, but he made others take the rap for that. And while they're just going, you were the one that fucking let him, hear the story about Annie and everybody else. So it was just, God, there's so much information behind these
Yeah.
sentences that I'm telling you that I feel I get lost in thought or my point. Um,
All
but
right.
uh, yeah, Dave's. I'll just get back to my point about Dave. Is Dave? Dave lives a very troubled world. Is very isolated. Is very lonely, and he doesn't really have any true friends. Um, what happened to Shelley can also happen to Larice.
Yep. Hmm.
So don't be fooled that Dave's got a new love in his life, because it's not love. It's not for what you and I know love to be. Dave doesn't even know what the hell that means. Um, and
Yeah.
Larice, I know Larice. Larice used to be married to one of my guards, Uwe.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was there when Larice and Uwe were married.
Wow.
I knew Larice from day one when I arrived at the base in 1982, and I knew both of her sisters. And the wicked witch that she's been turned into has only been guided by Dave. And to think that she's now that person, it's an incredible thought in my personal mind. I mean,
Right.
Lou and I used to stand there and greet Tom every time he arrived in helicopter on the property, and we used to just chit chat about life and good things and this and that, and it was like a brother sister type thing. As an IT base, as a gold staff member speaking to an RTC executive. But the history that Lou and I had, we were good friends.
Mm.
And so there was no standing there in silence. What do I say to Sir? What do I say to Lou? I don't want to say anything out of place. I don't want to. It would just be like, she would ask me about how Uwe was doing, or I would relate some funny thing that Uwe did to make her laugh, or say something to make her laugh. And that was just a small blip in the radar of our interaction. But Lou and I also took when Tom would land. I usually hung out there with the pilots during the time that Tom was at the property. So if it was an hour or the entire day, I would stand there and hang out and chit chat with the pilots. And so I got to know them pretty well. And but there was a few times, I would say, I think there was 4 if I remember, that when the helicopters would land, Tom would surprise Lou and I with a helicopter ride. And he would tell his pilot to take us up in the air and give us a ride, because Tom would know that we didn't have that kind of luxury as a Sea Org member and base staff member. So twice during the day and twice during the night, I got these were helicopter pilots from the movie Terminator, the Terminator.
Oh, wow.
Those helicopter maneuvers that you would see them fly under bridges, or the type of pilots that did those kind of shots, control the helicopter. I mean, they were wicked cool, wicked good with the helicopter. So he would fly us around, and Larice would be shitting her pants, and I would be sitting there laughing and giggling, and she'd be clamped in my arm, holding on. And this guy would be, he'd be almost going upside down and skimming off the ground, and up and over the mountain behind the property. Yeah, he would go so low, like out in the San Isidro riverbed, the riverbed that is south of the property. He would go down into the riverbed, and if you looked off to the right, you could see, all you could see is the dikes on both sides of the river, or the dry riverbed. But he would be just skimming off the top of the sand, and it was be those kind of helicopter rides. So a good 20 minutes, just flying around the property. It was an incredible thing. But to know that Lou that I knew then no
Yeah.
longer exists is
Yeah.
pretty upsetting. It's really truly, it's a representation of the true sadness, but it should
Yeah.
help you guys better understand what Dave's all about. He does not give a shit
Right.
about people's emotional concerns for themselves or about themselves. As long as they do what he says,
Yeah.
is what makes him happy, if you want to call that happy.
And I was thinking, Jackson, while you're talking that about Miscavige, is that as much as he has tried to, beat people down, stuff them down, there is a fire inside everybody. I really believe that. And I think that even Lou she's still in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Dave
So
hates the
I just
fact
hope,
that other human beings have a conscience and can
right,
realize, and
it's somewhere.
yeah, that they do, and it ends up defeating him. It's like what we're doing out here. He hates the fact that we're sitting here telling our stories, which is, and it's truthful. You
Yeah.
know, I can't shake any a better hand with reality, and the simple fact of the matter. You wonder why nobody's sued by the church, why I don't have any, I don't live a daily life of concern, of threat of being sued, because number one, I don't got shit,
Telling the truth.
but you know, he knows what I'm saying is the truth.
True. Hmm.
And that in itself, people don't sue each other on the hopes that they'll get away with redefining my truth. Because if they're going to call me a liar, then they have to prove that I'm a liar,
Yep.
Right.
and or prove that Mark or Claire or Mike or Leah or Mitch or Jenna or Sterling, you know, all my buds.
There's
He has to,
thousands. There's a whole list of
yeah,
thousands of people with
or any
stories.
public Scientologist, anybody who was even the PIs that stepped out, that followed Pat Broker for 20 some odd years. If you remember that story,
Yes.
they made millions of dollars off of it, and they stepped away from it. They publicly spoke out, and did they get sued? No. Was there probably some legal attempt to shut them up? Yes. But you know what? Their truth came out, and the world now knows about that. And Dave hates that. And he probably went through another case of that high-end scotch that he has overnighted from Scotland. And he subdues his own thing by the own controversies in Scientology as he drinks like a fish. And that's, you know, he doesn't go in session to clean up what he's upset about. His disappointment in Leah or Mike or me or Amy and Matt, and you know, the fact that his actions are being exposed to the world. He drinks himself into numbness about it, and I witnessed that. You know, I wasn't aware of how how often he did it, but I certainly was aware and witnessed his drunkenness. Shocking, 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 because it's like seeing the Pope
Right.
show up in the Pope mobile, driving the Pope mobile around drunk. You know, at a major gathering at the Vatican, Dave stupidly would put himself in those positions, and Shelley would be trying to clean up the mess in his wake, but he would just be drunk up, and I'm talking stupid drunk, not just drunk slurred voice. I'm talking stupid drunk, and it was shocking. It was shocking, but it you know, it never at that time questioned, well, is he really the leader we want? Is he really representing Scientology? It just made us feel uncomfortable.
Gotcha. So
So
Jackson, I was gonna just mention something. Like I was thinking about how we didn't plan on a subject matter today. We just were gonna hang out. But as soon as we started to talk about not being bitter, and you're not, but there's one person that he's fair game to everyone else, right? So he's he's the exception. I mean, I think that you have a right to speak out about him, and I think it's good that we've spent almost an hour listening to your input because you knew him very well. You observed the facts, just the facts, ma'am. And I know he would hate to know that, everyone knows all his secrets, but you know what? No mercy. I think that it's good to just you know, keep driving it home. And myself, I've been out of my cult for 16 years. About a year ago, I started to just utter the name of my cult leader. Her name was Marlene Sweeney. I was afraid to even say the name, but it got easier. And I've not mentioned any other name of anyone because I felt like I don't like to use the word victim, but they were, you know, um, they received her abuse as well. So I'm not bitter against them, but I will shout Marlene Sweeney's name from the rooftop. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that somebody from the Leah Remini's Aftermath now knows the name Marlene Sweeney. So yay.
Nice. That's great.
Yay. And what was the backbone of her cult, I guess, or what do you mean? Is this something? Is she the name behind the creation of it, or is she a name that took over like Dave did?
she she pretty much created her own brand of it was Pentecostal slash I don't know if you've heard of the Duggars and the IBLP. It was a little bit of fundamental Baptist, fundamental Pentecostal, the crazy speaking in tongues. They were when I lived there for 6 years. It was like a tiny Sea Org. It was like not as bad as yours, not as bad, but we pretty much were starved, lack of sleep, heavy labor, constantly doing, instead of TRs and all the training, we would have to fast and pray and repent and have demons cast out of us. We were had to be celibate. I got married 5.5 years into it, still with my husband 26 years
Oh,
later.
beautiful.
Thank you. But good guy. But we had come out of a different type of church. We kind of went out. We weren't like lily white. We weren't like virgins or anything. But we weren't allowed to hold hands. Nothing before we got married. And then all of a sudden it was populate the earth. So we had 3 kids right away.
Couple of bunnies, huh?
And then after 3, I'm like, we're outnumbered. I had to get special permission to stop having. I had to get permission to get married, permission to stop having kids. It was insane. Permission
wow.
to do anything. But we about we were there for about 10 years, and even then when we got married, we were still very much controlled. My daughter was actually we were in there for 16 years, but we were living off the property but still there, very much like the int base, where it's like basically just a little bit down the road, but you're still completely controlled. My daughter was 7 years old and they started to tell me that she had demons of Jezebel. 7 years old, Jezebel, and were casting demons out of her. And I took a lot of abuse myself, but when I saw my child being abused and my other 2 baby boys, I said, we got to get out of here. It still took 2 years to break out of the mind control and
Yeah.
leave.
Wow. Holy smoke,
So,
girl. Wowsy.
I can just relate. I can relate to when you say that wasn't you. Like I had to do things to people that I feel so terrible about, and it wasn't me. But I take responsibility. I apologize to my kids all the time for letting the demons be cast out of them.
Well,
That's awful.
on that note, have you guys ever seen the Band of Brothers? You familiar
No.
with
Steve-O
Steven
probably
Spielberg?
has. Steve-O, have you seen it?
You're muted, Steve.
Oh, you're muted, honey. Nope. Can I unmute you?
There you go.
I did
Oh.
not mute myself. That was
Oh.
creepy.
But
By the way, hi, Creepy B5. Yes, I did see. I have seen Band of Brothers.
okay. Well, I guess you're the only one that would understand that somebody's in here.
I figured he would see it.
Dick
Yeah.
Winters. I love those kind of shows. Number one, but this shocking moment happened for me in the season finale, and if you've only seen it, will this make sense to you? But I think everybody listening will get the gist. Is that there was this battle scene that took place during the winter in the forest. It was really well done. A lot of explosions, boom, boom, bang, a lot of injuries and stuff. And then the next morning when it was over, the 2 captains, which are 2 of the main characters in this whole entire series, Dick Winters being one of them, who's the actor's name, which you've seen in other stuff. But anyways, they were the 2 captains. They sent a scout ahead to go ahead on their next path to travel and take a look and see what lays ahead, so we don't go walking into anything. So the camera work was just incredible in that you see from the captain's views his scout running into the forest, and then the next shot is of the scout walking into the camera view, and you see this look of amazement and shock on the scout's face. It was like you were like, what is he seeing? What is he looking at? You expect the camera to pan to the right, to turn to see what he's seeing. But instead, the scout turns and runs back into the forest, and you can, and that type of cinematography as a viewer plays out well because without saying a word, you can tell exactly what's happening, and that he just saw something shocking and needs to run back and tell his crew. So he goes back. So he runs back into the woods, and the next shot is same camera angle with his two captains walking into that same scenario, and the same look of shock on their face, and the camera pans to the right. And I got to tell you, this is forever was burned in my mind. In that when that camera panned to the right, it was them discovering a Nazi prison camp with the victims inside walking around in their striped suits, very just obviously physically near death. I mean, they're just, I don't know where they get these actors from that walk around in today's world so skinny with their rib bones showing, just these very sad looking souls. And I tell you, when I saw that, that is when I shook hands with what I felt was my role at the Imp base as a modern day concentration camp guard. I was the one watching all those people and seeing to it that they stayed in that prison, and happily observed them being treated the way they were being treated, but not being aware of what I was aware of.
Right.
But it was, it was a shocking thing for me as an individual to really realize the impact I would have, I could, or maybe even did have on other human beings. That's the way they would look at me nowadays, that I was the guard of that modern day concentration camp. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Absolutely does.
Sure.
And it's pretty fucked up when that there couldn't have been any more truth of something that could represent something that was at play without looking so obvious as that concentration camp looked. But that really was what was at play to everybody at that Imp base. Yet the church wants to claim that we could have left any fucking time that we could have and wanted to. No.
Well, Jackson, that's the difference. There is you saw yourself as one of those concentration camp guards, but unlike the guards at those concentration camps, you weren't allowed to leave. You didn't. You were one of those being.
Well, I will tell you
held.
this, Steve, was that I could leave. I mean, I was so trusted as a security chief. There wasn't concern that I wasn't going to come back. And not only did I work myself into that level of trust, but I was also a volunteer firefighter with the local fire department. So I also kept up that public relations area control, or what's called PR area control, interaction with the local community. Plus, I mean, I was just played a firefighter, so I had everything at play. And but I could have left, but again, I couldn't leave because of the mental concentration camp that was at play.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I did not come back, like if I went to the station to do training that night, or if I responded to a call and I parked my engine and grabbed my gear, put it back in my car to drive back to the base, if I had that aha moment, it's like, shit, I could just take a right here and never go back to the base. It was clear to what you're doing to yourself. It's like taking a chainsaw, turning it on, and just consciously cutting both of your legs off, and be willing to endure the pain and the grotesqueness of it, and the long-term effects of no longer having legs. And then the church would happily stand there and watch you bleed out and go, you did that to yourself. I mean, that is just a conceptual translation of what it's like. The concentration camp, mental concentration camp at play, that the fear, the level of fear that you have of entertaining the idea of, I want to leave, I'm going to leave, this is what I'm going to do. You have to, that's a serious barrier as an individual to overcome. I mean, it takes a while for you to muster up the personal courage to be willing to endure consciously cutting both of your legs off with a chainsaw and just watch yourself bleed out and watch your life leak out of you. you know. I mean, just imagine that. What just as grotesque as this example is, that is truly. I can't give you an example of any more reality of how more real it gets. That is just a grain of salt of what it's like to push yourself through. I mean, I really felt when I decided to stand strong for myself and decided to leave. I just felt like I was willing to be dropped in the middle of Death Valley naked on the hottest day,
Yep.
and that feeling of when whoever drops you off flies away, and that feeling of loneliness and no resources, no water, you know, it's just a matter of time now before I die type feeling. Because you don't see no shade, no tree, no nothing. You're already feeling the heat of the sun. You're already parched, and you got a long walk to get anywhere. And the more you walk, the less you see, it seems. So in any direction you go, that is the feeling of what it's like when you are willing to at least start looking at the fact of leaving as
Right.
a staff member at the Int base.
Yeah, that
I
makes it
believe it.
really real.
Yeah, it's very real. It's stupid. I mean, it's not stupid real. It's just it doesn't get any more real. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what I went through. I can't speak on behalf, but I certainly witnessed people
Yeah.
challenged like that. You know, the very people that I watched or chased down. You know, I was chasing those people,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, while I was in that environment, while I was at concentration camp guard, I also was. I knew I was a good person at heart. In that, I just could not bend a knee to go whip that person, go verbally degrade that person. I would be the one that would kind of coax them with. I would at least put ice in their water. You know what I mean? When I gave them water to drink, I would put ice in it. Where Danny Dunnigan, one of my other guards, actually would open up the hot water spigot and give them a cup of hot water to drink and
Jeez.
consider them satisfied. You know, consider them hydrated. But I
We
was,
know all
I
about Danny done it again.
yeah, see, yeah, done
Wow.
it again. And I guess that's one thing I can proudly walk away with for myself, saying at least I wasn't that person. I tried to make good out of some very bad, fucked up shit. And if I chased
Yeah.
someone down, I would take them to dinner. You know, I wouldn't chase them down and tie them up and throw them in the back of the pickup truck and drive them back to the base and deliver them. Go, I got them. You know, I would at least, now that we made contact, you know, whatever I would say or whatever I do, I would say, "You hungry? Would you like to get some food?" You know, something like that. That's what I would do. You know, lucky for me that I did that because I just feel I can pay homage to the fact that at least I didn't make everybody's life that much worse when I was making it the worst experience of their life.
And
When I
not to
was chasing.
mention, I hate to cut off your thought, but not to mention you're paying everyone forward by just the when you were describing in the other stream about giving Jeffrey the intelligence about the base and how to deal
Yes.
with that situation, stuff like that you do all the time. I'm sure.
Oh, you guys knew about that?
Yeah, it was on one of the streams.
Yeah, it was
No.
the chat of the it was the chatathon when in the beginning of the Bob Ferris chatathon with Liz, they were describing they had already done the video and was
Yeah.
we were raising money for her second trip and all the expenses that you had mentioned that you had helped with a lot
Oh
of the
yeah,
construction of
I
the
spent a
fencing,
few
so
hours
you were
on the
able to
phone.
tell them, yeah,
Yeah, I
what to
mean, we
expect.
Jeff and I were on Google Earth, so he was on Google Earth, and we were navigating around. I was showing him where the property line was. This is that. This is here. This is this. Go do this. Go do that. I was talking to Vanessa and Elizabeth about what it's going to be like there. This is what you're going to be walking into. It's perfectly by design. Take plenty of water. You're not going to be able to poo or pee if you need to, so make sure you do that before you go out there. It was pretty detailed. And yes, Osa.
Someone saying Osa.
Yeah. You know, that's the beauty of all this is we get to tell these type of details, and without you actually moving the imp base, we can always give details about the details about the base because you can't turn around and change it overnight. So, to you,
That's right.
sucks to be you guys.
Yep.
No, I was going to say earlier that what I was just relating about my story, and the other tragic thing was the loss of my wife. Now, 20 years later, people hear this about me and how sad it is. Yeah, it's truly a tragically sad story. I will not lend the fact to that I don't hurt inside because of it, because the difficult thing about talking about it is when Dave hears that I'm talking about this publicly, he sits there and fucking laughs because that was his intent. That it hurts the shit out of you. Because not only did it happen to me, but I witnessed it being part of, and I supported it happening with other people. But, Mark and Claire, Stefan and Tanya, them being able to sustain after I left, still having their relationship, it fucking kills me inside that I don't have that, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just because it's just fucked up. I'm not going to go down that path because I'm just going to sit here and be a babbling mess. But, what I do have is, and what I learned from that, and what I took from it is I can't wait to give that level of love to somebody else, if that makes any sense. That level of honesty,
Yeah.
desire to be a true man to another true woman type thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. This all kind of sounds victimy-ish
No.
in a sense. It's just, not a lot of women like to hear how much I was in love with my wife, but I only say it because, if I run across another woman that is willing to have that, then that's the level of which it would be given. I mean, she's clearly moved on to another. She has her own family and is married and has her own kids and everything. So I missed out on that, but I didn't miss out on my ability to be able to give it to anybody. I don't know. I just don't want people to think that. I don't know. I mean, I'm not concerned about what other people think. It's just.
No. You're
It's
you.
just it has sent some other possibilities running when they, and I guess for lack of better terms, another woman doesn't want to hear how much you're still in love with your ex-wife. I just don't think I'm understood in just being honest with somebody. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it is. I never saw this aspect of my life coming. I always had believed that I would find that, I would do things in my life. Like I wanted to be a firefighter early on. That is my true desire in life. From when I was a little punk waiting to be picked up for soccer, baseball practice, I realized that's what I wanted to do for myself in life. That's what I wanted to do in life. Somehow amongst all this craziness, I still got 20 years out of it, but not as a career. But I didn't have that desire to be a firefighter as a career. I just wanted to be a firefighter. And I got 20 solid years in it, and
yeah.
a lot of beautiful stories, and a lot of life experience, and a lot of truly helping people. But also part of that was also having a beautiful family, and being, it's just, I guess it's so simplistic in a sense, and I don't realize I'm not immune to the possibilities, but I never once thought about another woman when I was married to my wife. I was that much in love, that much certain. I have no interest. I'm not that type of guy that would do that. Talk about my old lady to my buddies. That really pisses me off when guys at work, it's like, my fucking bitch of a wife. I'm like, wow, dude. That's
Someone just said, "Wish all men loved the way you do, Jackson." You're getting some marriage proposals and everything. Just saying.
well, it's just me. It's just that's my I'm not yeah, it's just me. I don't know what the fuck else to think. It's not that I don't say stupid shit or do stupid things that kind of clash with this reality of me, but at the same time, I guess I could say that it is a beautiful thing to walk around with. Is that I'm of the belief that that could still happen. But I'm not here to force anything upon anybody.
I love this comment, Jackson. Michelle R says, "I know it's awkward to talk about past loves, but it also shows that you have the capability to love, and it shows that you can be deeply committed." So that's
Yeah,
all good attributes.
yeah. I'm the one that foolishly uses cliches like the Notebook and that movie Castaway. That was me. I don't know what else to say. I would have built a fucking house for the love of my life. If I literally would do that now for her, just because I feel I owe her that. I would have ended up falling asleep laying beside her in her last breath. That it's amazing to me that there are other people that walk this earth. I'm not the only one that sees or thinks these kind of things. So the fact that there's an artist out there that actually put this to film to allow me to go, yeah, that's what it's like. That's what's going on in my head. That's what's in my heart. That's what I believe. That feeling in Castaway. I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie with Tom Hanks and FedEx, but that feeling that you feel that he went through by sitting there in that frickin' cave with his little picture of his wife and that gift that she gave him of the picture of her. And that feeling of I'm completely stuck. I can't. There's nothing I can do, but I know there's a way eventually for this to happen, to get back to her, and then he finds his way back to her. And as a viewer of that movie, you're going, "Oh my God, what strength!" And never once up to that moment that he got flown back back to the world, back to his life, did he ever think that she had moved on. It just that love was as strong as he was. Well, it was just kind of like that for me when I was routing out, when we were separated and then suddenly it was gone. But it just yeah, I guess I'm the stupid idiot that walks around with that kind of mushy
That's what we love about you. and I also love that you can be tough. You're funny. I'm writing your profile right now for you don't
geez.
need a dating profile.
Maybe I'm oversharing, but
no, there's no such thing as that
No,
on here.
people love it.
Yeah.
yeah. And at the same time I really feel like a Mr. Bill at heart.
Nice.
Right.
Or Marvin the Martian,
All right, where's
like,
Steve-O? Where's Steve-O?
I'm here.
John?
Oh,
oh
yeah,
yes, John.
we quick him.
John, dude, thank you so much for sending these, buddy. Yeah.
I can't pronounce his last name, so we call him John Scooby-Dooski.
Yeah, that makes Scooby Doo. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get a little baby Davy Miscavige yet? Since he seems to be the theme of the day. He's
He'll send you one.
As my finger.
It's funny that they're making this new doll about Dave, and it's just I feel I can put claim to the public identification of Applebox Boy, because I don't know if you guys ever heard that story of what I would relate when we would have these base staff meetings or musters down at MCI, and we'd all stand there up at attention, and it would be silence, and all you hear is this clump, 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 him walking down the aisle, and you couldn't see his head because he was so short. And then the final two stomps, clump, clump, at the podium, he would be stepping up onto an apple box so he could be of height enough to your normal sized podium and speak into the microphone. So wherever he went, part of his entourage was an apple box.
Wow.
Literally, I mean that's no joke. So that's why I call him Apple Box Boy, because it just humorously he required an apple box to be able to stand anywhere near.
I'm thinking about new crochet ideas while as you're speaking.
Yeah, so I thought I was hoping that they would make one of those dolls with him standing on an apple box.
That's a
Um,
great idea.
yeah, I don't know how to
Maybe an
introduce
apple
it.
box.
It just I know he hates it, and again, I just love pissing in his bowl of
Oh,
cornflakes every
I
day.
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Um, but yeah, I don't know how much time you guys got. How much time am I wasting of your guys' life?
No, we've got
Oh,
plenty of time. I've
okay.
got a bunch of starred questions and comments
Well,
if you
I
don't
yeah,
mind me
that's
going
one
through.
thing I really I want to respect people's time that they
Yeah, so I want to
Sure.
go through some. Yeah, okay, great. Uh Blow Drill said having radio was a saving grace in the Sea Org.
Oh my gosh, we called it a paint dryer, by the way, because on the RPF you couldn't listen to music. So during our painting projects, we would tell our unit IC or in charge that we need a paint dryer to keep our morale up. So we called a radio a paint dryer. So we
Nice.
couldn't claim getting in trouble or come up on our sec check that we were
Oh,
listening to
code.
the radio. That was
Oh,
Wow.
just that was sounds that were drying the paint in the room. So we called
nice.
the radio a paint dryer.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's how creative you get in such a
Yeah.
toxic environment.
Sure.
Yep.
All right.
But
I
yeah,
like
yeah, music was a big, big, big part of. I just absolutely love music. Absolutely love music. I wish I could play background music as part of my YouTube channel because it brings back so much good memories of and it helps me remind me of very specific details of my events at the base. So go ahead
Oh,
with your
yeah.
let's see. So we need a calendar
Yeah.
to celebrate all the actual SP's birthday since they were denied. Yeah. Yeah, you know,
Jen
my
said, oh,
birthday
yeah.
means absolutely nothing to me because I don't know, right or wrong or indifferent. It's just another day to me.
When's your birthday, Jackson?
March 11th,
Okay.
1966.
Oh, you don't have to tell the year.
I don't care.
You're not you're not that much older than me. You're not. All right. So we got some more questions. I'm not sure if we know this. I think somebody must know it.
Oh,
Helen Girl 55. Will there be any cameras in the courtroom tomorrow?
I'm
Hi,
not.
all from a never in from Los Angeles.
Hi. Oh, yeah. Well, you're. I wish I had an ability to be able to provide you an honest answer to that. I don't know. I'm very hopeful, like you, that there is. That would be up to the judge. Because there hasn't been one in the case up to this point, I suspect that she's going to keep it the same.
Yeah.
Right. I think
And
so
then-
too.
We just should let it play out because I got to tell you, this is the closest the reality of the internal workings of Scientology has come to play, and it's so good to see justice play out.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and again, I don't know if you guys know that I played softball with Danny every weekend for
No.
No.
about 10 years after I left. Every weekend, I'd go
Really?
to his parties, and I was there at some of these questionable events, and I was like, but I was so fresh out of the Sea Org. I did not want to play security chief or ethics officer. Not that I was turning a blind eye to what I suspect what was going on, but I was, I was witness to a lot of shit that was going on, and there was other, Lisa Marie was at the parties, other Sea Org kids that I grew up doing their laundry who are now out of the Sea Org were at these parties all grown up, so it was kind of cool to see them, but meeting other celebrities and the shenanigans we would do. But we played softball. We were part of the Glendale, down there in Glendale, California. We were part of the Glendale softball league, and we were a true team. We were called the Boll Weevils, and it constituted a bunch of me and a bunch of other public Scientologists. Even his brother Jordan was on it, and all the little, hottie patatis from the fans of Danny would come and watch Danny play at our softball games. I mean, all that came with it.
Wow.
Ashton
And all that tomorrow is
Oh,
yeah,
I just love the fact
end of a
that
chapter. Mm-hmm.
the fact that he's being held accountable,
Yep.
and the fact even right now as we sit here and talk, he is fucking in jail.
Mhm.
Yay.
That in itself is almost just satisfying enough.
Yep.
But yeah, there's
So
Penny.
we had.
I
Oh, there
still want
she
to
is.
talk to that gal about
Yeah, we
Louisiana.
will after we're. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
talk when we're done here.
yeah. It's
Um,
not Louisiana. Penny knows Louisiana.
Louisiana. You have to teach us.
No,
So
yeah.
Nana Lothrop, $20 super
Go
sticker.
Tigers,
Thank you
right,
so
Penny?
much. Yes, go Tigers. Oh, we already did that one. Sorry, I got to unstar. Let's see. I don't have the fabulous Juliana today, so the guys just sit there and look pretty, and I'm doing the work here. You know, me and
True.
Penny in the background.
Look at
Chad's just the eye candy. We can't even see.
that.
We can't even. We can't
Oh,
even see. Oh, there we go. Space Cadet Brett Jackson, you're such a gentle soul. Hearing about all the ways in which you've survived an up close and personal relationship with a narcissistic abuser like DM is really such an inspiration to me. Thank you. I think he speaks for
well,
all of us.
Yeah.
my only answer to that is I'm just me. But thank you.
We're
Thank you,
glad.
Space Cadet Brett.
We're glad you're you.
Yep.
Um, Jensel, question, Jackson, what do you think about the revolving judge assignments to Leah's case? Yeah, that's interesting.
Part of the fucking tactics. That's all I can tell you. Don't be surprised. Believe me,
Gonna be-
Leah is clear about the battle she has chosen to go up against, and she knows everything. I mean, what is yet to play out is what has yet to happen. And believe me, it's what's led up to her ability to file a lawsuit was in itself a triumphant event. But the strength and the set of balls in this woman, incredible. It just it's
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. And, you know, yeah. Yeah. There's so much I want to say. I just don't want to say out of respect or privacy. But
Right.
we've had a really heart to heart recent conversation about my feelings and views of her as an individual. I don't see her as she's just a sister to me, and I kind of laugh when I run across the Kings of Queens and see her being her character. You know,
Awesome.
yeah. It's just yeah. Anyways, beautiful soul, and you guys all get to see her beautiful soul, her strength, and her determination, and
Absolutely.
she means fucking business, and I love that. She has a wherewithal, and she is basically in effect representing us all. If you haven't already
Absolutely.
recognized and believed in that, she is.
Yep.
She's in it for the long haul. She
Yes.
knows. Yes. Yep. She
So
knows
is it
what-
true that Travolta keeps 2 planes parked at a mansion property in Florida? OBG Foster. You know, I've never been to Travolta's property, so I've seen aerial photographs and I've heard stories. I wasn't there to be able to answer that question honestly for you, sir. So, assuming OBG Foster is someone to refer to as sir.
I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
just say they. Yes.
Yeah.
Creepy B, thank you for the super sticker.
Thanks, creepy.
Thank you, Creepy.
Thanks, creepy.
I love these names, Creepy B. We love them. I
Oh
don't know.
no, this seed. Yeah, okay. So this is delicious things. Hello, delicious
Yes.
things.
Whoa.
Yeah, you said delicious. I don't think DM ever saw SPTV coming. Do you think we're at the top of the list of what most grinds his gears daily? Absolutely. This is his, again, day. He wouldn't be able to stop it at all. He probably was aware that he was just waiting for the day for this shit to kick in. But boy, I tell you, I don't know if you guys ever seen a wicked moving wildfire, but I've actually been on a fire where it was out racing me in the engine. And
Yeah.
it was moving so fast I couldn't keep up in the engine on a parallel road. And this is what it's like for Dave. High winds up a steep grade with heavy fuels and a lot of acreage up ahead. And Dave knows it, and there's no ability to control it. And he fucking hates it. He fucking hates it. Excuse my French, but David fucking
Okay,
hates
we're
it.
far enough in. Go for
Yeah.
it.
He done messed
For
up.
it.
Oh,
Yep.
he done
He
messed
done
up. You know, I got to make a comment about Aaron in that it kind of proves two things. Number one, he truly, I mean, he was amongst the walk and the talk where you guys weren't, but he he truly understands without never having much interaction. Which kind of proves the value of the truth that's been delivered. That he understands. I mean, it's like Tony Ortega. Like him how you want. That guy is basically a Scientologist and never having stepped into a Scientology organization, and the level of knowledge that he has surpasses mine as an int-based staff member about Scientology. But Aaron articulates this world so well. It even helps bring clarity to me of certain aspects that he speaks about. But I saw somebody referring to the panorama fire. Jeff.
You
Yeah.
can click on things if you see something you really want to
Oh.
answer. I gave you the powers today. You can click on things if you
Oh.
want.
Oh, Steve-O's camera is sorry, ladies. I love Steve-O.
Oops,
My
I accidentally
camera-
I forgot to change it from all to just me. So Marilyn
Oh.
is also saying that. But
Okay, yeah, sorry, ladies. My oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it says all. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Okay.
All of our cameras are dead.
that's right.
Well, let me quickly scroll back just because I just
Yeah, go
do.
ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it'll allow me to scroll back, but it only. Oh, there we go. I don't like dead air like everybody else, so
Oh no, it's all good.
Singing in the rain.
I was gonna say Steve will start singing for
in
you.
the rain.
from a poet, Brian Lucas, March 16th. I'm a Pisces, yep. Very emotional. Okay, I do have to, just because, whether this, I don't know what to think about this astronomical stuff. I've never been into you're a Pisces, you're a Cancer, and all that. I don't know the significance of it. I just personally believe that's people's beliefs. Maybe I should look into it more to help connect some more dots in my personal life. But again, I live my life. I'm just me, whether I'm a Pisces or Cancer or whatever you want to call those people. I would certainly never draw judgment on someone else because they're not a Pisces or they're whatever. I understand there's some conflict of you're a Pisces and you're a Cancer, that there's conflict in personalities there. I don't know. I just think it's another human
Oh
being
right,
that one needs to
compatibility.
compatibility. I'm of the belief that you need to listen more if there's something you don't understand about somebody, especially somebody of emotional interest. It's just you need to sit there. It's like, shut the fuck up, Jackson. Quit being. Don't let this get to you. Understand there's another human being there to sit there and actually listen to, and work to understand. Because all they're interested is having another person willing to understand them. That's why they're talking in the first place. So that's usually my first draw. I mean, my first interest is I need to pay more attention and listen closer when there's another person talking to me. So I don't prejudge. I don't know, is that person a good fit for me, whether they're a Cancer or not, and I'll move forward. I just like to see the person for who they have that impression upon me with, and I move forward with that.
Exactly.
Friend or potential lover or business partner or whatever. It's just like I have some really good people at work. If I step behind the curtain that I'm faced with them as a fellow employee, I probably would find something different, but I don't focus on that because I deal with what I see in front of me, and I have a good boss. And I feel that, I'm just using that as an example. Somebody I truly don't know, and if I lose my job tomorrow, I'm out of their thoughts. I will never be thought of again. And that's kind of a wicked way in which the workplace works, as opposed to here we have a bit of a motivation to, address the fact if we upset one another, we'll at least make an attempt to reach out and go, sorry for pissing you off. Or we reach out to give emotional support on something. Whereas, like I said, a coworker at work, I work in a very high turnaround job. And it's just surprising. You get to know somebody, and next thing you know, they're not there anymore. And it's like, nobody fucking gives a shit. No, so much so they don't even talk about them. So,
Right.
that's just an interesting aspect of life. I don't even know why I went jibber jabbing down that.
That's okay.
Uh,
Blow Drill, I believe, is an ex-Scientologist from the way they ask questions. But this one is a question: do you remember when Tom would drive his Porsche up to the base?
yeah, there was two Porsches over two periods of time. Yeah, the first one, yes, I was there the first day he arrived at the booth with it. I remember when JB, you guys have probably heard of JB, John Brousseau.
Mm-hmm.
He used to do maintenance on it, and
Yep.
he took it down the highway to test drive it after he'd work on it, and I was blown away by how fast that fucking thing was. And then the second Porsche that he bought for Nicole, he had delivered to the base, and I'll never forget sitting at the booth, and this tow truck drives up with this brand new Porsche on the back, and says, "Yeah." He pulls up to the window and says, "I'm here to see Tom Cruise," and no one's supposed to know that he's here, so. I had, what do you say to a tow truck showing up with a Porsche sitting on the back, saying, "I'm here to see Tom Cruise"? Are you supposed to, "Oh, he's not here," and turn him away, and send him back to whence he came? But no, that was a gift that he had for Nicole on Valentine's Day. It was a Valentine's gift to Nicole. So that Porsche, Tom was out driving, and he was speeding down a road. And the way I found out about it is one of the local police officers, San Jacinto PD, came up to me when I was at the firehouse and goes, "Hey, Morehead, I got a little story to tell you." And he tells me how he pulled Tom Cruise over for speeding down on Sanderson Avenue. And he didn't give him a ticket, but it was just the memory. And the fact that the police officer knew he wasn't supposed to know that Tom was there. So he was kind of comically, it's like, I know what you're going to think is I'm not supposed to know this, but I know this because it's my job. And I know. And I pulled Tom Cruise over. Both Tom and John at separate times got pulled over for speeding out there in the quaint little Hemet San Jacinto Valley by the local popos. It's just kind of a funny little tidbit about those two guys. They both got pulled over by police for speeding.
And it's just disgusting to me when you talk about them driving up in Porsches and the conditions of the way the Sea Org members were living. It was like a prison camp, and they're living on, and some of them in the RPF, living on rice and beans, and he just shows up with his sunglasses and his two Porsches. It is just disgusting. It just
Well,
I
see,
just
you
wanna
say
punch
that
him.
now after what you know, that what you believe him to know. It was hard. I'm sure it would have been hard for you to see it that way at the time it was happening because, in Tom's and John's eyes, they were coming to the wonderful world of Oz
Right.
and seeing the horse change colors and all the well-dressed people and how happy and gleeful everybody is.
The white glove, yeah,
Yeah, the
like
white
making
glove,
them
everything's so
smile. Yeah,
clean and pristine, and it's
yeah,
nothing but a beautifully happy place until you pull that curtain back.
Right.
right.
Well, never once would those people ever get anywhere near the room in which that curtain was, and all the control levers were being pulled until they eventually got there. And Tom eventually got there, and then we as base staff will be sheltered from interactivity with Tom. Your average base staff member, be it a staff member that worked in manufacturing or building the e-meters, or whoever was on that established path in which Tom would be taken on his tours. I was not part of that group, and he could just see me and interact with me for who I was. Like Lou, I was just trusted enough that there wasn't concern.
Right.
There wasn't concern about how Jackson's gonna represent Dave and L. Ron Hubbard in the base. Nor was there concern about Lou. So there were certain people that never didn't have to get groomed, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, I guess me and Lou and whoever else that would have been, there were servers. There was Sinar Parman, who was his cook. If you ever heard and remember Sinar Parman, L. Ron Hubbard's cook, chef.
No.
Okay. Anyway, he was a good friend of mine. And then you start witnessing things about Tom and Dave together. and my own, I was getting closer to that curtain, that Oz curtain, you know, within Oz
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
So, you know, Marilyn, you say that I mean, you guys are more likely pissed at Tom than he deserves to be, in the sense that there's nothing more than you guys know from what we've told you about him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that change? You've lived a lifetime of liking his movies to now hearing our stories, and now you no longer like his movies. You know, I mean, I'll never get out of my. Again, this is my looking forward to that moment. Take my breath away from Top Gun. You know, when he's busting his move on Kelly, and it's like, just, you know, you never. It's like I will. I like Top Gun movie for the creative artistry that it was created for. Not. I didn't like it only because of Tom Cruise. I mean, everybody in that movie, Meg Ryan.
Right.
Oh my gosh. So you probably now have a different taste and take on Tom Cruise, and I also, you know, I know that Tom. There's no way in Tom can exist to the level of intimacy that he relates with Dave Miscavige without at least having
Knowing.
seen or heard or knowing about one little piece of shit aspect.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Or him not being aware that there's Sea Org members producing something and making something that he personally benefits from, and him not recognizing that I need to pay for this. Well, you got to realize that Tom probably concluded in his own mind that he paid for that Sea Org member labor service because he recruited 10 people into Scientology. You know what I mean? He didn't write him a check, but he wrote them a check in lieu of exposure, positive exposure in Scientology. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can justify and
Well, it's a
rationalize just
justifier.
about
Yeah, it's a
anything. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Right.
As opposed to telling Dave and go, wait a minute, you know, those guys, I'm going to pay them directly. And Dave's like, no, you don't need to. Oh, yes, I do. Oh, no, you're not gonna. And they never had that conversation. I'm sure Tom took advantage
Yep.
of
Sure.
the red carpet that was laid out before him, and Dave fed on that. And, you know, the set of balls for him and to announce in a very public setting that he is the most productive and best Scientologist on the face. That's just an insult. That's like saying you're the best Catholic amongst all Catholics. You know what? That's, yeah. Just like, wow, dude, did you really just say that? I mean, I wish everybody could have said that at that event. It's
Right.
like, wow, Dave, did you really just say that? You know. And Tom himself didn't even
Absolutely.
turn around and go, you know what he's saying is bullshit. You know, you guys were here way before me, and there's no Scientologist can be above another Scientologist. You know, he should have respectfully said that, but no, he ate it up. So
Mm-hmm.
there is that aspect about him. You know, I've got my own views about, you know, I just think that we are nearing the next transition of the public image on Tom now that Siri is going to reach her adult age, and removing Katie as legally responsible for her. Suri's now going to move on to adulthood, and this is going to be a new chapter of what the world knows about Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Because Suri is free to say and speak and do as she chooses. You know, that's my perspective. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. Whatever. I truly don't need to give a shit about that, because respectfully, that's a mother and a daughter and a father at play there. I have no
Right.
say in that whatsoever. So,
So
there
we
you
have a
go.
question about the leaks coming out of Flag. Ruby Sardison asked, "Do you think the leaks coming out from Flag mentioned by Matt earlier that some are so scared that perhaps someone might flip on them, even if it is just his location for the servers?"
Okay, here's something to realize that will help you people realize the fact of what you guys are doing, what I'm doing, what Mark and Claire and Matt and Leah and Mike and Christy and all of us are doing, or affording people under the radars that comfortability to speak out and come forward to do that underlying, to exercise that underlying desire of theirs to speak out and speak openly, is just what this information that these people calling Matt it's just indicative of the fact that that's a new level in which we're arriving at for people to do that comfortably. So, respectfully, Matt's not giving details because of the wicked game that's at play that we know OSA jumps. They sit here and they just scour every word and sentence and paragraph that we put together on here so they could figure out who the next asshole is they need to go take down. That, that the leaks coming out from Flag, that's just more truth coming out from Flag. Very thankfully from those who are willing to step up to the plate and move to that next level of, I want to say something. They don't do it for years and years and years. And now they've arrived at, I'm going to say something, but please help protect my identity. But this is truth. So Matt delivers the truth. The church, the beauty of it is the church cannot and will not find out who they are, but it is helping me and you all know what it's currently like there. And that is a beautiful thing in that we get to know what it's like there. I mean, it's one of the people that were listed on that, I'm assuming we all saw Matt's live. Do you guys see it?
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Well,
have
the
to
people,
watch it.
yeah, the people that he was listing, the names, one of them in particular was one of my security guards. His name was Paul Killerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
We called him PK, but he was a wicked cool guy that turned into a wicked asshole. But he was my deputy security. He was my deputy security chief at the base. And we've known each other since 1982, and I had to give him up and send him to Flag because Dave, at the time the Golden Age of Tech was being established, he wanted all the best people in the right places, so he would just do this in-house moving people around, and PK was one of them. I had to give up. It would have been me, but I was told that I was wanted at the base. It was more important to have me at the base rather than send me at Flag to satisfy Dave's happiness that the good people are in the right places, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I thought this was a really good comment that kind of explains some of what you've been saying. I'm in my starred chat, but we can go to the live chat if you want after this. Rosebud Amit, Rosebud Dame. I've known many narcissists who never see that their behavior is wrong. They may be told it's wrong, but then they put it on everyone else. Yep. What do they call that? Jarbo or something? Yeah, where they just turn it around.
Never see their bad behavior is wrong. Yeah, Dave is so got himself convinced that he's done nothing wrong. And he can never do anything wrong. It's just I assume it's what comes with the level of power that he's obtained.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Jackson, if there's anything in the live chat that you want to click on and answer.
Well, I'm trying to.
You have all the power.
I'll say Rosebud Badam. I have to leave in a minute. Jackson, thank you for sharing. You're welcome, Rosebud Badam. That was 2 minutes ago.
All right.
There's somebody saying, "Don't forget to sleep with Steve-O tonight."
Not tonight.
Don't.
Not tonight. We got a headache.
The 1045 number 5 in letter A says, "Don't miss sleeping with Denver Steve-O tonight."
Oh, I think it's Monday nights, right?
It is Monday nights, yeah.
Oh,
It's okay.
But thank you.
soft and wet. Do me, baby. Did I just say something I shouldn't have? Creepy B5.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, if it's
Okay.
PG-13, you can just click on.
Well,
You got a
that's-
mouse. You got a mouse or something. You can click on things if you want.
Certainly an
Maybe not
entertaining
that
thought.
one, but yeah, you can pull things up. Just touch it.
Yeah.
on your screen.
So, I mean, do you guys have any questions for me? I really am here to answer your guys' needs. I mean, anything like I was watching Mitch yesterday with Mark and Janice, and
Yeah.
what I remember about Mitch was his ponytail. I mean, how come no one's ever fucking done? And as I'm having this thought, it comes out on the video. I'm like, oh my god, how does this work? How does life work that way when you think of something you didn't even voice? and suddenly they're talking about it.
You postulated
Yeah,
it, right? You're like,
yeah,
ponytail. Talk
postulated
about the
it.
ponytail.
Yeah.
Fuck,
That's funny.
postulated. I will relate this. I went to L.A. recently, and while I was there, I stepped aside and I went and hooked up a bunch of my firefighter brethren that I hadn't seen in a long, long time. And oh my gosh. And literally, this is the week. I don't know if you guys heard through the media the two firefighters who lost their lives in a helicopter crash out there
No.
in Riverside County. Unfortunately, yep, close to me. More importantly, a lot closer to my brothers that I went and visited. They actually had more of a career interaction with them and grew up in the fire service with them. But nonetheless, I didn't want to divert down that. But it was just a couple days before that I got to sit down with one guy in particular that I grew up with in that department. His name's Tim. And he represented the conflict of what I was told at the base, that there's just fucked up people in this world. But I'd go and hang out and work with him only to find the complete opposite, and of deep-seated passion and desire, where he is a genuine good human being that I myself grew from, and I almost don't want to say I looked up to, but he and I just naturally got along really, really well, and our interactions on different incidents, from running on the same call and the same piece of equipment to him becoming a battalion chief, and I'm one of the responding engines to the incident that he's now managing, if that makes sense to you, and tying into it and building a plan. Who did we just lose?
Oh, Steve-O's having trouble. He just messaged
okay.
us on private chat. He's
yeah,
just
yeah.
having trouble with his camera.
Anyways, I got to get, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Chief," because he's now a chief, and I just still call him Tim. He's still my Tim. And he said, "Hey, Chief, I'm here. I told you," because I told him I was coming. I said, "If there's any chance I get to see you, it would be great." And he actually went out of his way to come see me. As a human being, that's just kind of very humbling that another human being would actually take their time to organize their life to come see you. I'm still getting used to that. It's I don't know.
That's great.
It was just touching, and then I really got to from the deep depth of my soul tell him what he meant to me. Look at that, Denver Steve-O
Here he
recovered
is.
his
He's
camera.
back.
I guess he the glory of Amazon Prime, having a Prime account, you were get a new camera that fast.
I did. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely true.
You just have to think it.
Yeah, just click it, and 20 clicks away later. Anyways, it was just incredible that there was no there was no facade to our conversation, and I found out that he had been following my story way more than I knew he had, because he used to wonder about me at the firehouse when we'd be out there training, and why would Morehead hang out longer than everybody else? Training would be done, everybody else would go home. I would continue to hang out at the firehouse, hoping to get another call, hoping to run another call, and just taking in the fire world. That's what I wanted to do, and that was my element. Running calls. There's just something about it. I mean, I'll get into that later, but to share that experience with another human being, and the remembrance of the impact that person had on me, and be able to tell it to their face. I'm the type of person that believes that if someone has had that amount of an impact on you, they should know from you. And if I can deliver it face to face, I think that's the way people should be told of the value that they are as a human being, what you mean to them. I think people are deserving to know that.
Yeah.
And he being one of those was it meant a lot to me to be able to tell him. And I told him once before, and but this time I got to embrace it more. And then also there was 3 other firefighters that I got to see that I hadn't seen in a long time, and to my surprise, they've also been following my story, and came to like to levels of knowledge that I was shocked that I'm just, I'm just me, but like, holy smoke, there's this other guy, his name's John, and I'm like, damn, dude, you've really looked into this. He goes, fuck yeah, man, I've been following you for years, and you know, that hassle out there because I mean, I don't know if you guys heard the story of Stacy Moxon, her death falling into an underground vault.
Yes, I heard about
Yes.
that.
Okay, this was a firefighter that was actually on that call that had responded as 911. And all these people. I even talked to Tim. Tim was one of them too. He was on that call. And these guys took interest in the batshit crazy that they knew I was part of because of that involvement. And they told me stuff that I never knew about, and how much the church was going after me. They would show up at the firehouse looking for me, and they're like, "What the fuck are these people doing here?" And it wasn't just one; it was like 3 or 4 people there, walking around looking for me. It's like, what do you guys? I mean, it's a public servant property. It's a public land, but nobody just shows up and starts wandering around looking for somebody at a firehouse. Well, they did it not only once, not only twice, but many times throughout. And anyways, it was so nice to be able to see these folks and give them hugs
Yeah.
and chit chat, and just it was so beautiful. So
Yeah.
that was a number of weeks recent, and really enjoyed that. In my firefighting world, fucking absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So Jackson, I'll try to say this without crying. You've had me laughing, crying. I'm trying to hold it in. I'm trying to hold it in here, but I just want to personally thank you and your comrades for the work that you do, because I personally we'll talk offline. I don't want to take much time, but I personally were my life was saved out of a burning house when I was 5. So thank you for what
Oh,
you do.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Incredible, Marilyn. I didn't know that. Well, of course I would have never known that.
yeah. So I can't thank all of you enough. And I was able to speak to the lieutenant that was on duty that night. And just a few years ago, it happened 40. Oh God, how old am I? So freaking old. 47 years ago. And just about 4 years ago, I was able to speak to him. He wrote a book, and a whole chapter was dedicated to my fire. And
Oh wow.
I had lost my mom and 3 siblings and some
Holy
other
smokes.
relatives. So yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I still get a little cheered up, but you've been talking about firefighters the whole time, and I just wanted to say how important that work is.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow,
you've had me.
Marilyn. Well, okay. You just reminded me of a story when I was down at Katrina, managing a camp over there in oh, Penny's back. Good, because I wanted her to hear this. Uh, um, there was this employee because I was there supporting the city of New Orleans Sewer and Water Board, and there was this employee. He was a classic Southern. All I can tell you is a classic Southern black guy, Southern accent. He just fit the role of what you would imagine a Southern black dude to be like, and he was he was like 65, well, actually more mid 70s, closer to 80s. And he was called Scoot, because the way he walked, he just kind of scooted along. His feet, every foot was dragging, and he just kind of scooted along. It's just one of those one of our elders that keeps on keeping on. And anyways, he was a grandfather. The 2 weeks before Katrina hit, um, oh, there's Penny. I hope Penny's still with us.
Yeah,
Seems
she
like the
said
signal comes
her
in.
internet is blinking on and off. There's
Uh,
been high winds the past week or two, and yeah, she's
oh,
still with us. She's just kind of. I
okay.
just said that's
Well,
okay.
okay, your story kind of is what brought this up in that Scoot, and I never knew his real name, but we were sitting around. We usually had this little social circle at the end of the day after I'd finished servicing everybody and seeing to it that all their needs were met. Come over and hang out. And I found out that Scoot, 2 weeks before Katrina hit, he was babysitting his daughters, his grandkids. and there was like 4 or 5 of them. And he lived in a second floor apartment. And this is going to get a little grotesque, just because I want you to understand the nature of what this gentleman was faced with. But he was babysitting his 4 or 5 grandchildren while mom was at work. A fire broke out in the second floor apartment, and only him and one of his grandchildren got out. And this is 2 weeks before Katrina hit. Now, as an adult, the responsibilities. Imagine that as an individual, what you would go through. Like, holy smokes! I was entrusted by my daughter to babysit and watch over these kids. This fire happened. I was only to get maybe it was 2, but he lost a majority of his grandkids in that. 2 weeks before Katrina hit. And Katrina hits and wipes out the rest of his life. His daughter and his surviving grandchildren moved to Texas because that was a thing back then. And Penny may remember this. A lot of people migrated to Texas. And here he is sitting here after not only enduring that as a responsible grandfather and then having to endure Katrina, but he's sitting here at this camp just chit-chatting with little old me Jackson and telling me this story, and he was still able to smile and laugh. I would have never known any difference if he never told me this. And I just, again, Scoot, such a cool, mild-mannered, humble individual, and laughing all the time. And then he lays this story on me. It's like, dude, how do you walk around? It just is incredible. The level of, to endure that, the loss. It's like, wow. I don't know. It just really makes you go, But I was able there to make his life just a little bit better, affording him a place to rest his head and a place to keep whatever belongings that he had left secure to the best of my ability and our ability at that time. And
Jeez, you're killing me, Jackson. You're gonna make my man eater mascara run. Damn it!
Man eater. Well, for me, it was just as a beautiful moment to sit here and witness this, and that was part of my experience at Katrina. How much the level of humbleness that grew out of that for me was just incredible. Yeah, it was nothing short to being witnessing people's life. I mean, you and I sit here and we have the luxury of thinking, I need some chapstick. I'm just going to run down to 7-Eleven and get some.
Yeah.
None of that existed. Like, to shake hands with that and witness that. I mean, I was being paid to be there. I felt my presence was an insult because I'm being paid to help you folks that lost everything about your life. It was kind of an awkward feeling, but that's just the way life works. I was there under a contract, and I wasn't performing to satisfy my contract obligations. I was performing to satisfy my human desire, which is to help these folks.
Well, you weren't in Scientology at that point.
No,
anymore.
I wasn't. No.
So you weren't handing out stupid pamphlets and saying, feed my finger, feel my finger, and give him a bottle of water, maybe. I mean,
albeit there was some of the way happinesses did make it their way into my camp and my tents, which was absolute bullshit. But there sure wasn't this great deal, this world's largest volunteer minister program out there at play at all. Yeah, there was not much of that going on. But anyways, this story I just related grew from your story there, Marilyn.
Well, we all have a story. No one's more important than anyone's. But I just wanted to say that I can see the passion and the compassion and the passion for what you do. As far as being a firefighter, you knew you wanted to do that from a young age, right? And you want to do it
deeply. I mean, you can still see that stage left, stage right.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That there is my first helmet. That there was the helmet I left the department with, but this is the helmet that I melted on a fire, and that's the one I had to replace. And that right there is something one of my firefighters made up for me. It says Cal Fire. I mean, I'll bring them up here sometime. And then this little 25, that's one of those little table numbers that you get when you go to Burger King. when you place your order, they hand you a little something to go sit at your table.
Nice.
And
Right.
well, that
Right.
represented my station number, and that was kind of a thing out in Riverside County that when you went to such places, we would collect those and we'd put them on top of our TV in the TV room at each firehouse. So
Nice.
one of the firefighters that I visited, he has a little one of his rooms in his house is dedicated to all his memorabilia, all of his name tag, his patches, little Smokey the Bear stuff, little fire engines and stuff. And he also had one of those too. I'm like, dude, you got one of those too? And he said, yeah. Now I didn't steal that. I asked if I could have it, and they gave it to me. So
Nice.
some guys would actually take their order and go, hey, can I get number 2 or whatever firehouse, number 48 or number 16, whatever firehouse they were working out of, and they would just, lose it in the seams. But yeah,
This is why no Burger King in all of Southern California has the number 25.
that'd be a lot of
I love it.
freaking burgers there, Steve-O. So
So Jackson, we're a little over 2 hours. We don't want to keep you all
oh
day.
no,
But I've got a few more questions. If you wanted to take a few more,
bring it
try
on.
we'll try to run through them as fast as we can. But I know there's a lot of questions that people had. And Theta, Gary, I'm Marcus from Ventura/Melrose. We visited on the phone a bit in 2017, talked about our experiences. My brother is Travis McGee. You saw both of our videos on Aaron's channel.
Oh,
This is
okay.
Marcus.
Well, hey, Marcus. Hey, buddy. Good to see
Yeah.
you on the other side here, huh? And chit chat,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
a
wow.
great guy.
huh?
He's a good guy.
good
Marcus,
guy.
he's always hanging out in our chats, and
See, I love the
he
fact
has
that you guys have grown a friendship with him too. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
he's great. He's great.
Wow.
And he has a channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just a reminder to everybody, please feel free to subscribe to Marcus's channel. That's at In Theta.
And Theta.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I apologize,
Yep, that's Marcus.
Marcus, but I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah. He's great. He's been on Doug's channel a lot, and I believe several others, but don't quote me on that. But I know he's been on Doug's because I've seen him.
Yep.
A couple questions, and then I have a couple comments I wanted to finish up with, if we can. Question, Jackson, how did you blow from Scientology? The capsulized version, maybe. We don't want to keep you forever.
No, well, I no. Okay, I actually left by routing out. And what I mean, you say blow from Scientology. Because I'm a Sea Org member, you're not blowing from Scientology, you're blowing from the Sea organization. So, the whole 2 different levels of an effort to leave. But I understand your question. My wife and I, at the beginning of when shit went down, basically, when I felt the wrath was about to be brought down upon me, but I wasn't so of the mental mindset yet that I'm leaving. I just knew the wildfire starting, and there's a hard wind behind it, and there's a lot of grass on fire here, and it's going to take a lot of resources to put any level of control in on this. When I recognized that was at play, my wife and I, and again, part of the tactics of my own actions, I was becoming the victim of my own doing. We were going to be separated. It just became this little wink wink and trying to get the secret message to one another. But because I didn't live on the property within the confines of the perimeter fence, because we didn't have any facilities to allow many people to live on the property at the time, and because I was the security chief, a nearby house was rented that I could get to the base within minutes if something ever happened while I was sleeping. So my wife and I, because of what was going down at the time, and it's like, we are done. We are out of here. We are not going to allow ourselves to be separated. So that night we met at 2:00 in the morning. I'll give you a little bit more in depth here in that, because we couldn't talk face to face about, hey, listen, at 2:00, meet at this spot. we're going to get the hell out of here and leave under our own choices, not be confined here. Again, I forget specifically how we got the communication to each other. It certainly wasn't walking up and going whispering in each other's ear or a written note. Because we were both staying at the old Gilman house in the same geographic of each other, it was just, it's like an apartment complex. Not that it was a complex, but I'm just trying to relate to you. I was in apartment 6, she was in apartment 99. And we somehow communicated we're going to meet in the middle at apartment 49 at 2 o'clock a.m. At this point, I'd already been, she went under watch, she went off that way, I went off this way, I had people watching me, she had people watching her. It was so dark that you can't see your hand in front of your face out there at night. But I was so tired. Anyways, this was like at 11 o'clock when we went to bed. And I'll never forget for myself that I was afraid that I wasn't going to wake up. And I couldn't set an alarm for 2 o'clock to go off. It's like, why is Jackson setting an alarm to go off at 2 o'clock in the morning? Or whatever. And so I had to either lay there and stay awake, or just wake up. Well, shit. I woke up like at 1:55. 1:54, 1:55. Now, it just takes a minute to walk over there, but I now had to activate, and I was like, oh my God, I almost slept past 2. Thus that feeling of I would have given my wife that feeling of abandonment, that I wasn't there. Because right now it's just like this level of what do you call that, intuition or mental communication, what do you call that?
Yeah, intuition or
Yeah.
premonition. Yeah, premonition. Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
we're only speaking
Oh,
non-verbalized
like ESP.
communication.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like ESP. Yeah.
I mean, we know each other so well that we could just look at each other, and we both would sing out the winning lotto numbers. You know what I mean? We knew each other so well.
Right.
So I woke up almost after 2, and I had that feeling. It's like, fuck, I almost led her to believe that I didn't trust her or whatever. I almost failed her. So I had to wake up suddenly in the pitch dark, not draw any attention to myself, find out where the guard was, and sneak my way out without being caught. And to get at that meeting point. And when I got to that meeting point, we had this little communication. We had this little whistle between us. And that was the way, like if we were out shopping in a grocery store or clothing store and I didn't know where she was or she didn't know where I was, we would just whistle and then follow that sound, right? It was so fun, so much fun. So here we are in dark, and then I hear the whistle. She whistles for me, but turns out she was like standing 5 feet from me. And it was like that feeling that you're like, oh my God, we made it to this point. And then it became, here we are within the middle of the property. I had to travel probably like 1.5 miles to get to my point of exit where we were going to hop over the fence. Because we were, goddamn it, we were going to leave on our terms. We were not going to leave on their terms. So our point was to get back out to our off-base berthing, which is out near Mount San Jacinto College, back to our home, and deal with it from there. But we're not going to stay within this fence and leave. So she had, and I also had to tell her, it's like, sweetie, you have no idea the shitstorm that's about to be borne down upon us. And I'm so sorry that you have no idea what's coming, but trust my lead, trust me what I tell you. And you know that I know. And that's all she could believe. I mean, it's not that she did not trust me. It's that she had no idea about what was about to happen. And I was going to be her guider, her protector, and the navigator through this whole shitstorm that was going to be delivered to us. And we literally had to walk through the shadows through that 2 miles, basically about, I wouldn't say 2 miles. It seemed like 100 miles, but it was from the very north side of the property to the very south side out to the riverbed that we had to get from point A to point B without being noticed to move in the shadows. And nobody catching on to the fact that Jackson and my wife are missing, and them start activating the blow drill and turn all the perimeter lights on and everything. But surprisingly, we made it all the way out to that point, and then there was no way I can get over the fence without activating the alarm. So I had to teach her on that. We were literally out there in the pitch dark having to jump off of this retaining wall that was just inside the perimeter fence and up and over the perimeter fence and land in the sand on the other side without hurting ourselves. But in the process of jumping in that airborne suspension, I would be activating my infrared alarms and thus setting all the lights off. So I told her, I said, once you jump, get ready for the lights to suddenly come on, and your eyes are going to have to jump, but you're going to be able to see where you land at that point. And I thought, I'm not going to send her first. I'll jump first so the lights are on, so she doesn't have the trouble of seeing, since I know what I'm jumping into. And there's my brother Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
Brisker with an M.
Hey.
So anyway, so I jumped first, leaving her inside the property, and she had to jump over the ultra barrier and everything. It was quite a jump, but she did it and landed right next to me. And I grabbed her hand and pulled her up to the sand, and we began the hike back to our house. And I was telling her, giving her the rundown exactly what's going to happen, what the effort's going to be, and that's a nutshell. It was a pretty heavy moment in our lives. I will tell you that.
This would make Mitch, are you listening? This would make a really good movie. Just saying. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And scary. And scary and sad and beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to tell you, it was pretty significant, because that was one of 3 times that I actually blew, where they had no idea that I was planning and scheming to leave without them knowing about it. And the second time was trying to get out to her out at the Happy Valley property, which through the Indian reservation. And how do I get around just a click of the radio away from them going, hey, Jackson's missing, go hide Sherry? Because every time that I left, I knew that she would be shuttled away. And sure enough, that happened. But that didn't stop me from getting within feet of a highway patrolman or California Transportation road crew, realizing what are these people doing out here at 3:00 in the morning on the edge of the road in the middle of nowhere, and them telling them that I was having a falling out with my wife and he's just upset and we're out here trying to help him. Where in fact the true fucking story was I was trying to get to my wife, and I literally was feet away of yelling out for help, but not wanting to harm the image of the church. So I didn't, if there's anything ever to be regretted in life, was never doing that. Not only on behalf of myself, but on behalf of my wife. And, a funny story, that's part of my blowing, that my second time that I did leave, I hopped the fence and I was trying to get out to Happy Valley before I'd be noticed that I was gone, to physically get a hold of my wife, because it was only then when I physically had my hand on her that I know that she would not be shuttled off somewhere. I ended up going to one of my firefighter's house. I ran the entire way from the base all the way out to his house, which was probably 15, 20 miles. I don't know. Seemed like 100. But I ran all the way there, knocked on his door. He was on a fire, but his wife was home. I knew her enough that she knew it was me on the other side, but she didn't answer it out of fear of not truly knowing. You know what I mean? And I don't blame her, because that is like, if that was my wife at that door, I wouldn't have expected her to answer the door either. But if they truly knew what was at play outside their door, they would have gladly opened it, and only found that out like 20 years later. Because I tell you, she was like, I'm sorry, I can't open the door. I'm like, okay, Casey, it's totally fine, sweetie. I'm not here to upset you. I understand. And I was disappointed that Dave wasn't there, but whatever. That was just circumstantial events. But 20 years later, I got a message from her simply saying, I am sorry for not opening that door for you. That is probably because she watched the aftermath and whatever she watched and got educated on what happened to me leading up to me knocking on the door that morning. And then my other brother and Dave, they were married at the time. They no longer are, but he told me, and it was, I didn't even solicit this out of him. I told him about that story. It's like, dude, your ex, Casey, messaged me and told me that if if she wished she would have opened that door for me. And he's like, dude, if I would have known you were at my door, I would have told you to kick the fucking door in. And dude, when he said that, it was like, oh my God, wow. I had no idea that level of help existed, because you run out with this. You don't want to be a problem to anybody, but you're in screaming need of help, but you're not willing to scream about
Right.
it. But for him to say that this years later was just like, dude, if I would have known you were there, I would have told you to kick my fucking door in. And regardless of the effect it would have had on his wife, because he knew that in the end she would understand. And it's like, if I were to call him, it's like, dude, I'm at your door in case he won't let me in. It's like, well, kick the fucking door in. Get in there to get refuge. It just means a lot. It's like, how often do you hear shit like that? But anyways, that's my answer to somebody
Wow. Yeah.
asking about.
Amazing.
And I sidestepped a lot of little details, but
Yeah. Book, movie, both. Just saying.
it's just me.
So you have a message from L. Ron Hubbard himself here.
Yes, sir.
L. Ron Hubbard said,
Jackson, there hasn't been a fire drill up here at Gold for the past 50. Can you do something? Oh my God.
help.
Wow.
I take a lot of pride in the drills that I set up for I take a lot of pride in the drills that I set up for the crew, for their own safety. For the safety of not only that base in Scientology, but more importantly for those staff individuals, giving them a solution to problems that life would throw at them. And I did a lot of drills with a lot of people every weekend for a couple of years, and it became a thing. Even so much so I even got a letter from Heber Gents, an official church letterhead from the president of the Church of Scientology, where he thanks me and praised me for having trained him on the Heimlich maneuver, because he was at some sort of church public dinner with some other affiliates, and somebody was choking, and he was the only one there that knew what to do because I trained him on it.
Wow.
And Heber went over and applied the Heimlich maneuver and saved this guy's life. Now, doing the Heimlich maneuver on a choking victim is just one of those things that's like, it only becomes significant if nobody knows what to do. But when somebody knows what to do, the problem goes away like turning a light on and off. And the significance of what just took place goes well unacknowledged, right? So
you saved the life too.
well, I
Right,
mean, I
right.
taught Heber
By
on how to
training
do
him,
something,
right.
and then Heber took the time to write that letter.
Yeah.
And, I just thought that was
Very
kind of cool.
Yeah.
We kind of cool. Mitch says we loved our Jackson and Gold. I certainly hope so, brother.
So, we've had several marriage proposals today, but to Jackson from all the ladies. Michelle R says, "Now I feel deeply protective for Jackson. I think some of us need to form a committee to interview any new girlfriends
Oh my
to find the
God.
perfect lady." Oh, look at the flush! Oh,
Nice.
I just am. I'm just being me.
You're
Folks.
so
How about them Dodgers? They're doing really good this season.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh my God.
We can whip out our Mr. Bills for comic relief, right?
Oh yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever.
What else? You're so cute. I loved this comment. I saved it. I love how Selena Highmauer. I loved how Jackson is so innocently humbled by the miracle of people being humans. I'm humbled by how humble Jackson is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. We
I
love you,
guess having that initial ability to recognize that what I see before me, it's like even this microphone I'm talking to, this computer we're using, everything that's at play behind the scenes. The network connection, the people that developed the ability for us to have this video connection, and how clear it is, and the quality, and the yada yada yadas. There's people that sit at home and watch reruns of The Office like I do, but this is what they did during the day, and it's quite incredible. It's just the jobs that I've had since I left the Sea Org, I find fascinating in that I've been a fire dispatcher. I've taken real live calls shaking hands with people, ordering airships for them because they're in a tragic moment in their life. And that's the most real phone call you can ever have in your entire life, is taking 911 calls. Because there's no bullshit behind it. They're not calling to go, hey, fuckhead, or trying to shoot the shit, or, tell you a lie or anything. They are calling to tell you the truth, and I am in need of help. And every word that they tell you is a wasted word, because it's time taken away from you getting out there and sending a resource to them, and just being part of that system to be able to activate resources and sending them to somebody who needs help. And there's nothing like, I mean, you guys probably all have all heard stories of people being on the phone with the dispatcher, 911, what's your emergency, and them telling you that I have somebody in my house. I'm hiding in the bathroom under the sink behind the locked door, and there's somebody in the house with a gun trying to kill me. And you're hearing all this on the other end, and then you hear it all play out. And I was part of that system. I had those kind of phone calls. I took phone calls of a precious 78-year-old woman who calls and says, I woke up this morning and my husband's not moving next to me. What do I do? And talking her through, checking for a pulse. And at the same time, I'm sending resources her way, but also trying to be a calming supporter and being a provider of help to her, and hearing her innocence. And at the same time, the depth of loss. But what do I do? My husband, I just wake up this morning, and you're having to ask those questions. Does he feel cold? Does he feel warm? Those are humbling questions to ask a fellow human being. And you're shaking hands with reality, right? Of, is this person alive or dead? And you're having to tell the love of his life how to verify that. And then what do we do next? And then if there's a sign of life, begin the process of saving his life, move him to the floor so you can start chest compressions and how to check for a pulse and how to open an airway. There's just something very humbling about that. And then there's also, calls at schools, gunshot victims. I mean, these are all tragic things I can tell you about. I could tell you 2 calls that I went on that would stand the hair up on your neck for the rest of your life. And it's just something humbling about that. And I kind of feel out of place speaking about it now, because there's plenty of firefighters in today's world, or the guys that I grew up with, that had 100 times more of the experience and involvement than I ever did. But I got my share of it, I'll tell you that. Saw me some good fire. And in the firefighter world, that's what we live for, to go put the wet stuff on the red stuff. It was a very humbling experience. But the 911 call taking, there's something incredible about taking that kind of call and shaking hands with a true conversation. No bullshit. There's no bullshit. It's like, you can hear that undertone. It's like, I'm trying to hang up the phone now. What do I got to say to make this guy hang up? You've probably heard those kind of things. Yeah, it's just, anyways, I'm very humbled by the life experiences, down managing a camp of Katrina. That was very humbling. The jobs that I've done here since I moved to Oregon, I've seen the entire state, been to every freaking town within the borders of Oregon, halfway into California and halfway into the state of Washington. And I was being paid money to go around to all these beautiful places of this entire state. And just, Oregon is freaking beautiful. I lived in Louisiana for a while. Yay, Penny. I love Louisiana. So much rich history out there. So much beauty. It's freaking humid as all get out. But, it's got its own unique beauty out there. The history, the rich history. The Interview with a Vampire is a movie that really portrayed that pretty well. From the moss hanging off the trees and what it's like. And the French Quarter with all the wrought iron designs. And speaking with the Cajun for the first time, trying to understand the Cajun is just incredible. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also, you shake hands with an actual language that came about, and understanding the history of the language and why they talk that way. It's like, dude, why can't you just slow it down a bit and talk to where I can understand you? It's like, yeah, that's an insult to ask me that, because that's the nature of it. That's the way they talk, It's like, I wonder what we sound like to a Japanese person, It's like that. Does my English sound like that in their ears to what they sound like to me? You know what I mean? Doesn't that Oh, Marilyn's
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah, she'll be
Um,
back in a minute, I think. Yeah, that's
sure.
a good analogy though about the different languages and
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love seeing life that way, you know. And I got to tell you, it was really cool when I experienced that down in Louisiana. You know, I was driving from Baton Rouge, which is Baton Rouge, driving from there to the Gulf Coast, and uh, with my father-in-law at the time, and we stopped in to get some bait, and this guy at a convenience store was as Cajun as they come, and it just was amazing. And I couldn't. I was like, "What did he just say?" And he was like asking whatever he was asking. It just was that was genuine Cajun. I just loved it. It was just like, wow. So, you know, that kind of experience, driving around the state of Oregon. You know, I've delivered fuel, and ironically, now I work for waste management, and I drive a garbage truck. As weird as that sounds, I think it's kind of cool that you guys sit there and blow your nose into a Kleenex, and I'm the one that comes along and transports it to the dump. You know, but people don't see what goes beyond what you just put in the garbage and you wrap up in a plastic bag, take it out to a candy, you put it out curbside, and somebody comes along and collects it. Well, I'm not a PI. I don't do it like OSA does, collect it and go through it. But, you know, I can save OSA a lot of headaches if you just, you know, I can, I don't know. It's just kind of funny how I work for a garbage company where I used to go through people's garbage at one time. But,
it
um,
is.
but just the life experience and all the good people that I've run across, and you know, now all the good people that you get to see that I grew up with, you know, kind of adds a sweet flavor to it all. And it kind of brings me back full circle to your guys' passion. It still shocks me. You guys were never in, but holy smokes, I don't know what I don't know what drew you to this other than Marilyn told me about her backstory. I can see her interest, but like Penny here, I don't know what Penny's story is. She's just a new face. Or gosh, she looks awfully familiar, but nonetheless, you know, I don't know you guys from Adam really, but you guys are just cool cats. You know, really good people, genuine.
That's why we're here. No, you know, I will never try to speak for any of the other, you know, 7.6 billion never ends across the world. But you know, for me, it's honestly there's something about one. There's something about injustice, right? There's, I mean, you treat you beat somebody up, you treat somebody like crap. That's just not cool. But you know, but that you could say that about so many different groups out there, so many different things. There's something about um, there's really something about the your passion. You know, you Gary Jackson Morehead and you Leah Remini and you Mark Headley and this passion to say, you know what, this needs to stop. And it's because of that. I mean, we'll never understand completely. We'll never understand what you went through, but we want to understand what we can, and that's because, you know, there's definitely, I mean, you guys are definitely passionate about, you know, making this stop, and that, I think that has compelled so many of us to be part of this, to want to, you know, whether it be a never in who hangs out in chat, or, you know, there was something at one point when I was hanging out in chat where I said, you know what, I can probably help in front of the camera. Hopefully I can. And that was, you know, that was something that that really hit me. But it's only because of folks like you that got us to be this passionate on this side. So, you know, without you, without Aaron, without Amy Scobie, without Mike Rinder, you know, we wouldn't be here. I mean, that's
Well,
it's
it's incredible,
Well
Steve-O, and I got it. It's just it blows my mind. I don't know what else to say. It's I don't know why there's not one magical word in the English language that you could just say that encompasses everything you're trying to say. So you kind of to a point feel like you're just babbling, trying to get the right
right.
statement out to where you feel satisfied that that person truly understands what you mean to me. So like I've always said, in a good relationship, what do we all want? We want peace on earth. Well, in a good relationship, at least you're able to afford each other that. And thus you can therefore have a beautiful relationship. And, what do I search for? I search for affording that woman of choice peace on earth. And what I extend that to my friends. Unfortunately, this wicked world, you got to throw up a guard on it. But it just fascinates the shit out of me that you guys have an ounce of interest in this and how articulate you are and your perspectives and the fun aspect you bring to it, your creativity of it. I mean, I know Chad and Steve-O don't have the creative ability like Maryland has, but you guys all do the kind
they
of
do.
same. You guys have your own same creative contributions, either through what you say or the atmosphere that you've created here. And then like Goldie is another example. Holy shit, that woman! Not only is
yeah,
she just the world's best, executive assistant. We'll call her an executive assistant to the
She's the
SB
boss.
network. Yeah, she's incredible.
yep, yep.
She's the boss
And I've
lady.
spoken with her, and it's just, and then now there's Penny Five. I can only think
Yes, we love her.
that. I got to find out more about her because that's just somebody else who's now shown up on the radar from my perspective of like,
She's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'd like to understand her
We're gonna hit the
contributions
like
to this.
button.
But it's just that's when I recognized yesterday or the day before when I was like, God, I should just do a live with these folks because I just feel I know Mark and Claire and Matt and Amy and Mike and they had the same. We're kind of dumbfounded. It's like, why do you guys even really care like you do? And not belittling your interest. It's just we stupidly are shocked. It's like, wow. You guys were never in, but yet you are. It is so fucking cool that you're here. And you guys do what you do. So, like I said, I wish there
feel
was a
this-
magical.
Thank you.
We feel the
Yes,
same. We feel
way.
the same about
Yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We just love what
And
you
the
do.
comedy that you add to it is like sleeping with Steve-O. It's like, what the fuck, dude? And I like playing on
Monday
that. It's
nights
like,
at midnight
sorry,
Eastern.
dude. Huh?
Monday nights at midnight Eastern.
Yeah. And, that was our little tactful way to get more airtime and more hours on the YouTube world, That's what really was at play, but you put a nice twist to it. And I thought, and then I showed up one night and I'm like, what is this Sleeping with Steve all about? Is he walking around in his fruity tidy whities and
Oh, wait, don't get him
Get
started about
drunk?
his speedo that he's
Usually,
threatening to
yeah.
pull
but
out.
then you just create this ambiance with this music going on, and I'm like, holy smokes, you
It
can
is
actually
nice.
just put this on and sit here and listen to it, and it's like that makes sense. Sleeping with Steve-O, because Steve-O went to bed and he left his channel live, and put this music on, and it's like it's just a place to fucking enjoy some serenity, How cool is that? So I actually did that one night. It's like, wow. I just put it on and I officially slept with Steve-O.
Awesome.
Much as that sounds wrong to be saying, but it just we can have fun with it since then. I'm sorry I haven't slept with you, Steve, since because I've just had back-to-back headaches.
Completely understand.
Someone had the
Well,
idea of
if-
having a T-shirt saying "I slept with Steve-O," and all I got was this dumb. It was this
Yeah.
lousy T-shirt. We got to make you one of those.
If you have headaches, Jackson, you can head to Clearwater Chad's channel and enjoy the beautiful waterfall streams.
There you go. Yeah, right on. And you're not even in Clearwater, dude. And I just love how you came up with that Clearwater Chad, and it's
Oh,
actually grown
Chad,
its
you got to
own.
tell. You got to
I'll
tell the story.
I'll give
Yeah,
the 30-second story.
Yeah.
I used to be originally before SPTV. I was a big fan of Aaron Levin Smith, and I used to watch his stuff every day. And he used to do the reaction videos of Grant Cardone and Tampa Brad, and I used to love when he used to get really upset whenever they used to, they're false and stuff. So I mimicked that. But it was Aaron's idea. He came up with a challenge for someone to come up with the name Clearwater Chad and the character, and I took him up on it.
That was awesome, dude. It has really grown since. A lot of people. I'm calling from Clearwater, Quebec. And
Yeah,
Clearwater,
Yeah.
yeah,
United UK, and I guess Penny now can say that she comes from Clearwater, Louisiana.
yep.
Right.
And anyways, dude, I just love that. And then Marilyn, your incredible creativity is really, it's funny that it's kind of hard to, I didn't intend for you to send this to me. You actually fucking made this thing and packaged it. Well, I
A
do
lot of
have
time
to,
on my hands.
I do have to acknowledge, I did get the note with it where it says to Jackson, made with love by Marilyn, gifted to you by Stacy York.
Yes, Stacey York is a huge SBTV fan, and she came up with this idea to she sent bobbleheads to many of the creators. Now there's so many, I don't know who has one and who does not, but she's been purchasing bobbleheads, having Claire send them, and then she's been helping me out with materials and some of the cost, and we've been kind of working together on it, and yeah, so we've been sending them out. So
Well, and then this little community, this Mandy, she lives south of me in a town called Lebanon, which is probably an hour and a half south of me. But the Team Mike and the SPTV little things that she makes, incredible. Somebody
oh
actually took the
yeah.
freaking time,
Yeah.
sits there and makes these things. I'm like, I'm like, wow. And the fact you guys even sit here and listen to the shit that I gotta say, it's like I'm just being me. And who's to say that my life's any different from your guys's? I'd want to hear about your, you know, I- you know, this is another perspective that I kind of I didn't get to grow up in a life in which a lot of you guys, if you guys sat at a coffee shop, you get to sit there and talk about, yeah, I remember when I got my first job, or Chad saying, yeah, I remember hitting on my best friend's sister, and I took her on a date a couple times, and
Chad, you
yada,
didn't tell me about that.
or getting your job for the first time, or your first paycheck, or having to do chores at the house. I didn't get any of that shit. And it's so great to see that with you guys. It does make one wonder. It's like, I wonder if that would have changed my character, my outlook on life, or molded me in a different way. I don't know. I do. It does suck to not be able to. I would just be the muted one sitting there in a conversation. We're all four sitting in a coffee table, and you guys start talking about, I used to deliver newspapers, my first job, this in high school, my, I feel stupid at times that, what is it, your junior something, and then your senior year? What's the middle year in high school?
Sophomore.
Sophomore.
Sophomore, yeah. I, I lived a lifetime not even knowing what a sophomore was. What the fuck does that mean? But not living that experience of a junior dating a sophomore and a sophomore dating a junior. Those are all molding experiences in life. Um, Being on the volleyball team, the junior volleyball team, the sophomore volleyball team. I really don't know how that works. I don't even know what kind of education comes with your junior years to your sophomore years to your senior years, and what it's like to actually to graduate high school and experience
Yeah.
that.
Right.
That's gotta. I mean, a lot of people, most of people of Earth, at least in the U.S., I can say, in the Americanized education system, which is what I grew up. I'm your basic white boy from Southern California, um, and I've been over to Louisiana as an example. I wonder what it was like going to school in Louisiana. I would have loved, and when I lived there, a lot of people wonder if I was born in the South because I have a Southern draw in my dialect, and I don't know, but it's a big influence on me when I go to Louisiana. I got to tell you that, because there's just something about it that my soul encapsulates. And then I enjoy, but I don't want to live there because it's also freaking humid. But there's nothing wrong with living there because there's millions of people that live there and it can't be all that bad, right? But I freaking love it. I love the Mississippi. I love all the American cars that drive around. It's just, it's not because I'm particular to anything. It just fascinates the hell out of me that to witness other. I didn't get to do this kind of shit. I was having to go to muster and report compliance and get yelled at and yell at other people and try to save the world through Scientology religions. I didn't get to take nightly walks and up and down the neighbors and get to know the neighbor down the street and work in my local grocery store. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of babbling at this point.
No,
But,
there's a big wide world out there. I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
I miss the 90s and 2000s. Like whenever anybody references even something simple like Seinfeld or Friends, I have no idea what they're talking about. I haven't seen any. I always ask Steve-O anything about pop culture. I'm like, ask Steve-O and Chad and Julie because I'm clueless.
Well,
but
it just coming from my background that I did, it just fascinates the crap out of me. And yeah, I just I love a lot of simple things in life. You know, one thing that I really enjoy a simple thing is I love when there's an incoming storm, and particularly in the first few weeks of fall, that feeling when fall settles in, you really get to experience here in the Pacific Northwest because you truly get to shake hands with the four seasons. And when fall comes in, that feeling of what we all knew, the old warm and fuzzies, the pumpkin spice feeling, pumpkin spice latte feeling of life, is that we all just love that cuddly, cool, somebody says, "Good night, John Boy." Yeah, the backbone of what it means for the Waltons to go, "Good night, John Boy."
Right.
Good night, Marianne. But when fall settles in, I would just love to sit strung out between two incredibly hardy trees on a hammock with this, I would say 67 to 68 degree cool breeze blowing on me and white puffy clouds, rich blue skies, and that feeling of fall settling in. It's just like, there's nothing better than that. It's just, it's like that movie, A River Runs Through It. You guys ever see that with,
yes, yeah.
yeah.
Well, Jackson, I can relate because I live in Vermont. So
Yeah. Oh my God.
the,
Vermont takes it up a level when it's
the
colors.
foliage, the foliage is
Yeah.
coming.
There's
and,
this in Mother
it's my
Nature.
favorite.
When you recognize what's at play with Mother Nature, people don't, as far as I'm concerned, and one of my good friends, my buddy Jeremy that I fish with, he's like, "Man, your perspective on life is like something you never hear about, to the point where I kind of think you're weird to a degree." And he comically says that. But when you look at your average tree, how does water get up to the top of that tree? How does water? Who the hell designed that tree that way? How did that come to be? And had to figure out there's no pumps involved on a 150-foot tree. And because I was a firefighter, and particularly I was a fire apparatus engineer, so I drove and pumped the engine. So I had to know my hydraulics and calculations and friction loss and everything that's at play when you're moving water. And what it would take for an average fire engine to get working pressure at the tip of that 150-foot tree is incredible amount of energy, but yet Mother Nature simply draws it out of the ground. And how does it get it up there? It's not as simple as you think. There's a lot of cellular things at a cellular level at play to get water to the tip of that tree. And how many gallons of water is suspended in that tree on just a single tree? Now, this may sound like a wackadoodle, like, what is Jackson smoking? I want some viewpoint of life. But it just draws another level of appreciation that I've come to recognize that I missed out on growing up and learning in school or whatever. But I'm fascinated. It's like, man, that tree's no joke. When it's growing, there it is. It's growing. Even if it's on fire, I've recognized that trees are the most robust thing on planet Earth. It can endure a lot, and it just sits there, and it just sits there, and it just sits there. And birds fly into it and poop on it, and it takes lightning strikes, and sometimes someone with a chainsaw comes along and cuts the shit out of it, or a car runs into it, but that tree continues to sit there and endure everything thrown at it. And it never moves. It never changes location. Isn't that just funny when you? I know maybe it's a ridiculous level of significance of life, but I just have a different level of appreciation, and maybe that's what I like to take long drives and just observe and see beautiful things that this
Mm,
It
beautiful
is.
earth has to
Yep.
offer. You
It
know,
love
is
that.
amazing. Yep.
it really is. And again,
Well,
I secretly just I'm missing out on it every fucking day that goes by that I don't have someone to share it with. So it's kind of this
oh,
weird aspect of it. It's just you desire it so much, but it is what it
well,
is.
um, Mickey says, super chat. So they really wanted us to see this.
Oh my
Sorry, I'm
gosh.
late. Opening bid for Sleeping with Jackson. Uh, I mean, like, just saying, you could open your channel and just have
Oh
some nice, relaxing music, and you know,
yeah,
kind of.
unfortunately, because of my wicked schedule, that's a funny thing. As a guy thing, it's an entertaining thought, but I just
I
like to
know.
make just to like make I like to make people laugh, so I like to be a crude guy every now and then. But
It's all good. Well, we got to
yeah,
have you back and just have like shots of JD, meaning joking and degrading, right? So
yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
because
But Jack
Yeah,
Daniels,
today we
yeah,
started
that's
talking
good too.
about, yeah, well, it's a
yeah,
play on words,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've been accused of being corny. I am very corny, but it's
I
fun.
could tell you a lot of firehouse antics and language that kicked around in the firehouse too. So I do have that experience of uh, yeah. If you ever watched that TV series with Dennis Leary called Rescue Me, which
Oh yeah.
was yeah that of any fire show that I've ever seen on TV or any network except for LA Fire now currently it's on NBC. That is a true representation of what it's like in the fire world, of how we treat each other and how much fun we have each other. So many good memories, so much ball bustings, just so much. I just love that. I was able to be fun with life, and as opposed to be so serious, going back to that base at the firehouse. It was so we had so much fun. I got to tell you, the amount of Tabasco sauce spilled on the captain's toilet seat will forever go down.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. We
I
used to
love it.
leave little treats. Just
Wow.
put a light film on the captain's toilet seat and just knowing he's going to come out and it's going to eventually kick in. It's like, oh, you guys. Yeah. So
Well, this has been awesome, amazing,
Yep.
fun. We laughed. I cried a couple times. We learned a lot, and it's just been awesome hanging out with you. Please let
are
us
there
know anytime.
are
We'll
there
hang out
any
again.
lingering? I mean, it sounds like you're trying to wind down.
Well, we're
Uh,
almost on 3 hours. I didn't know if you had to. I
Time
know
is not a thing for
Steve-O has
me
to.
at this
Okay.
point. I don't know
I
what
know
it means to
Steve-O's
you.
got to go to work or something like that.
oh,
But
Well, we
quiet.
will definitely have. You can come on anytime you want to our channel too.
anytime. We'll even adopt you. You can be one of the never ends.
Yeah, yeah. And I got to say, I'm sorry to say, but I am kind of cheating the system in that I'd like to do my own lives, but kind of comes with that, at least what I'm learning so far, is not only I can sit there and do a live, but then I've got to, or I do a video. It takes a while to get uploaded to YouTube, so I don't just get to click leave
Mm,
studio, be done, and it automatically goes.
Yep.
It
Right.
takes a
right.
Yeah.
while to go over. So then if I do it before I got to go to bed, then usually I like my first few videos that you see on my channel, I got very little sleep that night, not realizing how long it takes
It
for it to
does.
get
Yeah.
over to YouTube to where I'm like feel comfortable. It's like, okay, everything's good. It's not waiting for me to click on something to hit next or whatever. But
Right.
yeah. So I mean, any questions here? Yeah, good to see
Yeah.
you. Well, thank you, and Theta, and
Yeah. This is Marcus.
yeah, Marcus.
Marcus Sawyer.
That it
Yeah.
was
So glad I came in.
Steve Britton.
Stephen
I've
Britton.
been following him and seeing all of
He's
his
great.
very productive contributions. It makes me wonder if I don't know something rings a bell about that gentleman. But okay, keep go clicking through.
Very cool guy.
Just that he's trouble.
Love you all. Just lots of
A hand pink waving.
Oh,
Yeah.
lots
see.
of love. Um, this has been an awesome live. I totally agree
Yeah,
with that.
Yes, it
Joni
has.
Cummings. I've seen her on and off, and again, somebody else that I just know would have a good time hanging out with.
Oh yeah,
Um,
she's fun.
yeah. Somebody asked by the captain's seat. Let's see, by the captain's seat, do you mean Captain David Miscavige? No, that's the fire captain at a firehouse.
Hmm.
uh,
Ooh, Tabasco on Miscavige's seat.
oh
There you
God,
go.
would I
Oh
have
yeah.
fucking
Ah,
loved to if
that
I
would
would have
be.
only been self cognizant that you could have that fun, kind of fun in life, but he would have not taken it as I intended it. And yeah, it would have been worth being on the RPF for. I'll tell you that. It would have been worth being on the RPF for.
Then the
Yeah, why
RPF
are you on the
legend.
RPF? Because I put fucking Tabasco sauce in COB's toilet. Because
Yeah,
I tell
really.
you,
If you're gonna go, you might as well go out with a
well,
Yep.
bang, right?
that bastard used to entertain himself by getting habanero peppers from the galley, and he would sit there during dinner and have them put in people's food and sit there and watch the reaction of people like violently reacting as what's happening. They don't even know there wasn't a joking environment. So when you had
Right.
something like that happen, and he would just laugh his fucking ass off while this staff member was like, "What the fuck?" And then the belittlement because everybody else would laugh because Dave's laughing. Anyways,
Right.
Action
yeah,
Jackson.
Oh yeah.
purple.
All
Classic
right.
classic 80s movie, by the way. Action Jackson.
Yeah,
So,
you know, and
Action
people
Jackson.
ask me about that, and I said, well, you first of all notice I'm not black, so, but I do get called Action Jackson quite a bit. I
Yeah,
guess that's just
I can see it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Jackson.
thank you,
Anytime,
everybody.
literally,
Absolutely.
anytime
Yes.
you just have the notion and want to come hang out with us, that would
sure.
be awesome. Any last words? Anything else you wanna
Uh,
say?
no, I mean, I guess we'll chat after this live goes
Yeah,
off live, huh?
sure. Yeah,
Oh yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you very soon. Bye bye. Have a great day. Bye.
Everybody. Oh, hearts,
Bye.
Chad hearts.